Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the jungle. For we bought a mic and good mic hunting, a Robin Williams career arc series. Welcome. You will not leave this podcast until you have rolled a 5 or an 8.
And unfortunately for our listeners, if this is your first time tuning in, it does normally take us about 26 years to actually record an episode. So
strap in.
Yeah,
folks.
That's actually legitimately true.
Whenever we're doing our year-end series, like at least 26 years of my life go by.
Welcome. My name's Ernest.
I grew up in this pod studio. It's out there that scares me. My name is Hunter.
I'm Drew.
And joining us today, our old friend, don't get his wife's name out of his fucking mouth. It's Brett Nemeroff.
Don't get his wife's name out of his... I'm so... What?
No. When is this even coming out? Will the Oscars still even be relevant?
In 26 years, Hunter just said.
Yeah.
This is actually coming out before the Oscars, so people won't know about this yet.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It'll
How's it
be
going?
funny though once they do.
From sunny California, I'll just dub that over.
A pod for those who seek to find a way to cast their world behind.
Ooh.
And
There
all
you
of
go.
a sudden Hunter is just
And
fully
now
replaceable.
I just have nothing at this point. I'm completely just...
I'm here to
Completely
apply
disposable.
for Wabam host number 3
Okay.
in descending order.
Well, I'm glad that you know that I am number 3 at least.
Right. Well,
We'll keep you in
yeah.
mind.
you're like the Andrew Garfield to Drew's Toby and my Tom.
I don't want to be Toby.
I have been a little bit referred to as a bit of a twonk before.
Yeah.
So
Well, Drew is definitely Garfield.
Thank you.
Okay. So then he'd be number 3.
Hunter's
what am
Hunter's,
I?
Hunter's McGuire.
Okay.
Wild card.
because like I just am showing up for those checks. I'm just here to like get paid, and then I'm just gonna like go back and live off of my Great Gatsby money.
So Brett, this is probably what, like your 8th time on the show? I'm just pulling a random number out of the hat.
It's definitely more or less than that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What if it's exactly that?
It's not.
Could be. It's been a lot.
The last time you were on was probably for Nicolas Cage, right?
I didn't do a Cage movie.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. So it
That's
was
fucked
it was
up.
Lord of the Rings then.
It might have. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was the Lord of the Rings spree we did.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Yeah, that was like about a year ago, wasn't it?
No, that was
More.
That was
like
like
2
more.
years
That
ago.
was
Oh.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you moved out to sunny California and got too good for us. This homegrown We Bought a Mic podcast.
Yeah. And now you had to come back to where it all began.
I've gotten
Jumanji.
way better at podcasting. I got a bunch of Botox.
Mhm.
Oh.
I switched to video.
You look horrible. You look like Tim Allen in Christmas with the Cranks.
Is he very Botoxed up in that
His
movie
character gets
specifically?
Botox and it's very funny.
Oh,
It's
it's like a gag. It's like
Classic,
a fun
classic
gag.
sight gag. He's like drinking water and it's just falling
Yeah.
out his mouth.
Yeah, we are on video, so people do get to see your beautiful cheeks. I'm in sinking into the cheeks of this couch.
I think-
as we speak.
I think every episode we record, we should be somewhere else in this fucking garage.
right.
We
yeah.
we are always changing angles. It is funny because I remember that we did record an episode where we were both sitting on that couch. And I think by the end of the episode, we were just like fully submerged into that bad boy.
It's like I am not moving out of here. I'm getting sucked in. But
much like Robin Williams gets sucked into Jumanji.
perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect transition. Perfect.
And you don't
Hunter,
become-
Hunter,
you
you're
don't
back
become-
above Brett.
You
for
don't
the time
become
being.
host number 3 by accident.
Welcoming your favorite Jew to talk about Manji.
Brett, so that's really why we invited
Now-
you here today.
now-
We didn't want to say it, but since
Yeah,
you said it,
would you make that joke, Hunter? This might be a plus for Brett.
Yeah, cut that out and let Hunter say it.
yeah.
What is Jewish about Jumanji? Please elaborate.
Wait, no, pitch a Jumanji 2, but it's very
It's
Jewish.
Zathura. Zathura is the full-on Hebrew.
It sounds like a Hebrew word for like.
Yeah,
God.
I can't argue that Zathura sounds like it would be the Jewish version of Jumanji.
Yeah.
Because Jumanji is like a Zulu word for many effects.
Oh,
Fun fact.
Man,
Which makes sense. Yeah.
And were they talking about the monkey CGI effects in particular?
Yeah, there's many monkeys.
You're like, there's definitely a lot.
There's a lot going on with those guys.
We'll talk about that and all the other great things about this movie coming up.
Well, tell us why you picked this movie. Did you just think I got to get one of the big 90s run Robin movies?
No,
or
well,
was there something else?
Well, I remember when we were first talking about, who you guys were going to pick for the next series after Cage, and you went with Robin Williams. And we grew up obviously with Robin Williams. I know you guys are like reliving all these movies, right? And for me, Jumanji is the one that has continued to stick in my head. I don't think I saw it as much as like Flubber.
Ooh.
But number one, if like you think about like the beginning of the movie, it's kind of like terrifying body horror when the kid gets sucked into the game. But I realized, like, I think a big part of my obsession with board games started with this movie. Like,
wow.
But also my obsession with the rules. Like, you could talk to some people, especially my girlfriend. Like, I'm the kind of insufferable person that's really adamant about board game rules. Like, I'll make you sit there and listen to me read the rules of the board game. And like the whole plot of this movie is based on following the rules of a board game.
And if you don't follow the rules, you will get turned into an ape. You will grow a tail.
Exactly. Yeah, I want there to be a mechanic in my apartment. If you're playing board games here and you fucking cheat or don't follow the rules, you get turned into like an ugly, stinky monkey.
Yeah.
That kid's fucked up when he's a monkey.
The makeup holds up pretty well.
I mean, it holds up better than the CG.
Yeah. I will say some of the CG in this movie, even though it doesn't look realistic, I wouldn't say it all looks bad.
No, it's just the monkeys look like shit. They're an abomination.
Are the most in every single thing I've ever seen.
I mostly want to talk about the monkeys tonight. It's wild how much screen time they get.
Yeah.
Considering how much they stand out, like lighting wise, like everything you could do wrong with them, they do. And then like the stampede looks like all right. You know,
it is like funny. Like, so there's no way that they like put this whole movie together. They saw the mix of practical effects they had. They saw some of the good CGI they have, and they're like, yeah, no, this is a good amount of monkeys. Should we like add more monkeys to this? Like it looked bad in 1995. Like I'm just saying, like there was never a point in history.
I mean, 2 years
like,
after Jurassic Park. It's just like,
yeah, exactly. This is 2 years after Jurassic Park.
Yeah, the effects, it reminds me of like Mars Attacks and stuff like that.
Right.
Like the effects are very mid 90s.
That said, movie did well.
Yeah, so this is something we got to talk about because we mentioned this with Mrs. Doubtfire last week, but this is the Robin run.
Mm-hmm.
Like he tried to do his, quote unquote, for adults type of movies like Awakenings and Toys. Those were several years apart, but even something like Fisher King was like not specifically aimed at children, and those movies were just not making the types the amount of money that like an Aladdin made. But I mean, you did have a couple. You had like I don't know, like Dead Poets made pretty good money.
But
what's
Dead
the other
Poets
one?
was it's different though. Because,
Good Morning Vietnam did good money.
But same thing, like we have to just kind of put ourselves in a different mindset. In the late 80s, 90s, if you were nominated for Oscars or if you won Oscars, your movie got re-released. And that was like an extra like $40-50 million to what you would make. It wasn't even so much that like Dead Poets did gangbusters whenever it first got released. But whenever it starts to rack up all these awards and award nominations, then it's going to get re-released back in theaters. And that's whenever it like really, really cleans up. And that's not really a thing that happens anymore, especially not with adult dramas.
So Mrs. Doubtfire is 93. So after that, he does a guest spot on Homicide: Life on the Street,
which we're going to be covering next week.
Then a movie called Being Human, which we're not covering, but it seems kind of interesting. This is the log line. It says, one man must learn the meaning of courage across 4 lifetime centuries apart.
Cloud Atlas.
Yeah. So Tom Hanks, step aside. He did a couple spots on the Larry Sanders Show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's on
incredible show.
Then something called In Search of Dr. Seuss. Then 9 Months, which he had a little bit part in. That was a little Chris Columbus reunion. And then he gets credited with something called Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, and Aladdin on Ice.
Are there any like smaller, less significant credits you can give us?
So you get an idea
Wait, so
of like
you guys aren't big Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar fans?
That's a 2-year gap in between movies there. Like Mrs. Doubtfire, massive hit, like just gangbusters. And then he has like, a little bit of a lull there with some couple of not well-remembered movies and some obscure TV appearances. And then he comes back with another banger, Jumanji, which off a budget of 65 million makes 262 million at the box office. Doesn't quite crack the top 5 of the year.
No, it also didn't do crazy well with critics because there are a lot of pretty easy to identify problems with the movie, despite the fact that it ends up being pretty fucking entertaining.
Right. It is at the end of the day a kids movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this is like one of the rare kids movies where it crossed over in a big way overseas. Like this movie, it made 100 mil domestic, which is like good. It had a $65 million budget, which is insane to think that like a children's movie like this with a relatively unproven director, an original idea is getting 65 mil.
We have to talk more about him later.
Yeah, but it made 100 mil domestic, which is good, makes back its budget, made 162 international. Like this movie really hit overseas.
That's interesting.
And I think it's just because, so much of this movie is broad comedy. It's very like just broad family dynamics.
Well,
it kind of does
visual.
It does the best.
It doesn't rely on like the timing of dialogue jokes.
It's
most
all
of the time.
It's all visual, like applied to everything in the movie, right? So all the comedy is visual. The interpersonal relationships between the characters. If you don't speak the language, you could still watch this on silent and understand everything. But a big thing for me, especially when I was a kid, is the board game itself. Like practical effects, but just the board game Jumanji doesn't look like any game we would have had in the 90s or early 2000s, right? In a cardboard box.
It looks old as
something,
fuck.
like we could have stumbled upon.
I actually did. I wrote that down that I love like the detailing in the wood carving of the board game itself.
Well, the movie opens in like the 19th century. It's like the 1860s or something like that, like early America. And it's it's set in like New England. I think it's New Hampshire. And I love how it opens with just like the spooky storm, thunder, and lightning and rain.
So
and
dramatic.
They're burying the board game in like just in the ground. And
some kids like, but Papa, what if someone finds it? And
like, God have mercy on their soul. Lightning strike.
Perfect.
I
love
there's
that
some
shit.
Incredible like kids movie shit in the first act of this movie is just like kids movieisms like all over the place. From like kid just existing and then just having people wanting to chase him down with a bike. By the way, this town. Tell me that this doesn't just look like Derry, Maine, the town from It.
It's just like it's Derry
crazy
mixed with Back to the Future City,
right?
But like, there's like that kids just wandering into construction sites. A thing that just happens in children's movies. There's nobody's like around to like monitor and make sure that like children don't just like come in with all this heavy machinery and all that good stuff.
You gotta think about the power of Jumanji, right? Because he is not just like, oh, I guess I'll wander into this construction site. He is being like summoned.
Here's the drum.
The drum, which is like still so effective. That sound effect of the beating drums.
This adaptation for this script and for this movie was meant to be really surreal. And it starts with, you're right, like the biggest kids movie trope is them like walking around. It happens like 4 times in the movie and only the kids hear the sound of the African drums.
Yeah.
You did hear it.
Yeah, you don't hear that? Shut up, kid. And then they like go and find the board game.
I'm gonna beat you up.
Yeah.
Remember getting like beat up just because like
No,
What was even the
remember when like you were trying to run away because like you knew these kids were gonna like beat the shit out of you, and your dad's like, son, sometimes you just got to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Okay.
And dad's like, sorry, I didn't realize it was multiple kids that beat your ass. I thought it was just one kid.
Sorry, you're a fucking loser. Go to boarding school, you idiot.
You couldn't take 6 older boys by yourself, you fucking wimp.
He tough dad. It makes more sense for that to be parenting rationale in the 60s.
Yeah.
Which is when this is taking place. Because we start in the 1800s, then we flash to the 60s. We're still not even in the meat of the movie.
Right.
Mhm.
We're in the 60s for about a half hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think it's at like
arguably too long.
It's at like the 28-minute mark that Robin Williams finally comes into the story.
29.
29 minutes. Yeah, something like that. Maybe a bit too long.
I appreciate the patience in the setup, but I don't think it was executed well enough to justify it being that long. If it was better movie during that chunk of movie, then maybe. You know what I mean?
You mean strictly the first chunk of the movie you're talking about?
Yeah, before Robin comes in.
The movie is so short, by the way. Like, with that said, I didn't realize how much of the movie is taken up by that initial part of the movie, right? That's like the entire first act.
It's 104 minutes.
Yeah, so we're talking about
credits.
30 minutes of the 104 minutes.
Yeah.
Now we're only at like an hour 15 that Robin is even in the movie.
Robin appears at the second act mark.
Well, and so the blueprint for this is obviously Aladdin.
Yeah.
Where you
I didn't even think of that.
You have a first act, you establish world and characters, and then you bring in Chaos Guy.
Yeah.
The difference is just the beginning of Aladdin is incredible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Pitch perfect.
So you're not missing anything. I was missing an ingredient in the beginning of this.
I will say, like, I think you are right, but I didn't feel it as much because our queen, Kirsten Dunst, Academy Award nominee, Kirsten Dunst, little baby Kirsten comes in, and I was so happy to see her. I wasn't waiting around for anything because she is so good, not just in that first part before Robin comes in, but just in the whole movie. She's so emotive, and she sells everything that she needs to sell, every emotion, and she does it with like this bigness without it going like overboard. She's amazing. She's so talented.
She looked exactly like Thomas and Mackenzie.
Yeah, similar vibes.
When she was that age. It's pretty wild.
Her Power of the Dog co-star, Thomas and Mackenzie.
How far after Interview with a Vampire is this?
Oh, this must have been around the same time. This must have been within a couple of years.
She's definitely older.
I did want to read the first scene that we get with her. It's like it kind of took me back whenever we were watching it, because I was like, what is this character? She's talking to like it's her and her brother. And they're like talking with the realtor after their parents are dead. They had to move in with their aunt. And her quote is, "We barely even knew our parents. They were always away, skiing, gambling in Monte Carlo, on safari in darkest Africa. We didn't even know if they loved us. But when the Sheik's yacht went down, they managed to write us a really beautiful goodbye note that was found floating in a champagne bottle amongst the debris." And then she walks there and she's laughing. And I was like,
because that's not true.
No, I know, but it's just, and then her aunt walks up and they're like, they died in a car accident in Canada. But it's like, what is her like sense of humor? She almost has like
she's a little psycho.
She has like a Harold and Maude kind of vibe to her, where it's like there's some like weird darkness to this child.
These kids do absolutely zero processing of their trauma.
Right.
there's like their parents are dead and they're busy.
Robin Williams does more processing for his own parental issues than these children whose parents like presumably like just died.
Yeah.
Like the wound has got to be fresh.
Yeah.
And
this aunt is just not it.
What were you going to say, Brett? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that it's kind of the perfect role for Kirsten Dunst, especially at that time, the kid that's a little too mature and a little bit darker. You know, right after Interview with a Vampire, it's perfect for her.
That's like her first act, like the first like 5-6 years of her career. That's pretty much what she's doing.
I've actually never seen Interview with a Vampire. I gotta check it out. I've always heard great things. But yeah, I think that when it comes to those kinds of dialogue bits, there's a lot of that in this movie, and not just the dialogue, a lot of the things that happen. There's a stretch in this movie where it's like they like go into a store for like no reason, and like people are like looting, and
I have so many thoughts about that store. The store
love that
is
shit
incredible.
so much. But it's like there's so many things that happen in this movie where it's just like it's similar to that energy of what Kirsten Dunst's character is saying in that scene, where it's just like this isn't really as much a character saying something that relates to what this character is. It's more just the movie being a movie. It's just like part of the tapestry of the movie, and the writer trying to put something across that like doesn't quite gel with like what that character should be as a person, and more about just like the overall idea that you want the movie to get across to the audience, which like kind of frustrates me sometimes. It's something that you just kind of have to let it slide because it's a kids movie. But if you are trying to judge this critically, it's just like a lot of things happen that like would never happen. Well, says the guy watching Jumanji.
The protagonist is Robin Williams, right? He's like the hero of the movie. He gets like the biggest journey, and the movie's really short. So the emotional arcs of the other characters are super, super brief. Like you have the little, I think his name is Peter, and he's processing the trauma by like not speaking, right? He's gone totally mute. But then that just kind of goes away really quickly. And then Kirsten Dunst's version of that is like her compulsive lying, which you mentioned. And that goes away when Peter kind of nudges her, like, you should stop doing that, you know?
Yeah.
She's like,
and then it's over. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no through line with a lot of things. A lot of things are introduced without coming back to them. And it makes sense partially because things descend into such an unbelievable amount of chaos, but you still are supposed to tie up the ends once the chaos goes away.
Yeah. And they kind of do.
They do with some.
It's very, yeah.
So it's kind of a spoiler how that gets tied up, but in a non-spoiler sense, the much more interesting through line is the Robin Williams, Bonnie Hunt characters.
Absolutely.
Their arcs, yeah.
Bonnie Hunt is, I don't want to skip around too much, but she's the best. She's like secret like co-MVP of this movie. Just brings in like such an incredible energy.
Whimsy.
Yeah.
So she's the babysitter, right? So she's coming in to babysit him.
No. Oh,
what?
no, I don't.
You mean
so.
metaphorically?
I don't think so.
When they're kids?
I think she's the girl that he got in trouble for hanging out with.
Yeah, no,
that's why these kids were after him.
No, they're like the same age.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was hanging out with her, and her brother got mad.
No, he's
very short.
He's confused because he thought we lived together freshman year, but I was really babysitting him.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, and I got in trouble for hanging out with you. I got beat up.
Yeah, we were like, hey.
I was riding my bike and I got like just absolutely slugged across the face.
We have to go back to the 1960s for a second to talk about the shoe factory and talk about our guy, other co-MVP, David Alan Grier in this movie.
This bitch ass kid,
I know,
gets this man.
David Alan Grier created like Jordan 1s out here in 1969.
It's the most 90s shoe I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
So fly. Just incredible shoes.
And it gets he puts it in the fucking machine that destroys it. Yeah. And all I could think about was like, best case scenario for this man is he gets fired. Like it could be so much worse. Like,
yeah, it's the 60s in America.
Kid, what you're doing to this man, this nice man.
Yeah.
You fucking bitch.
It's the 60s and it's a man of color in America. That's not the great time.
And it does just become another end for him to tie up later. I guess one issue I had with that scene is this kid getting chased did not make me like him. And I think that was, well, it's not, it's just like sort of a natural inclination you're supposed to have is you're supposed to like the underdog, the person getting chased. I wasn't feeling that with this kid. He's insanely mega rich and he's getting chased for hanging out with a girl, which is cool. And then he goes up to his really rich dad and like, you know, he talks to a soul man, which
SOLE.
Yeah.
No, it's SOLE though.
Right.
So it's not, it's
fine.
It's fine. Because he does souls.
But
he invents sneakers.
The fact that he just sort of cowers away, I was like, well, this, I know this is just going to be a third act thing, but at the moment I'm just like, fuck this kid. I don't like him. You know what I mean? At no point was I into this child.
Right. I also think that he's like the worst actor in the whole thing. The kid that plays young Alan is like, the performance itself does not do that any favors. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah. When you get to the end of the movie and you get back to that actor, I was like, oh no.
No, but don't worry, guys. He has that one drip of blood coming down his cheek.
Yeah.
So he's
I was like,
somebody
figure. Wipe him up. What are we doing?
He's just walking around, just perfectly sitting right there.
Take a shower. Take a bath. Draw a bath. Draw a 1960s warm bath. So the only big note I really needed to mention from this section that I wrote down is when the girl says, I quit playing board games 5 years ago when he wants to play Jumanji.
So she stopped when she hit the age of 6 and was like, Mom, Dad, I don't want to play Monopoly anymore. Like what?
Wow,
what was that conversation
impression.
like that? Yeah, no, thank you. What was that conversation? She's just like, I'm too mature.
No. This is what happened. This is the official Jumanji canon. Is her family played a really intense game of Monopoly that like caused her parents to like have a horrible fight
5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like
divorced now.
Yeah. It was like an explosive Monopoly game.
Listen,
she was like, I'm never touching a board game again.
They wouldn't be the first parents to get divorced over Monopoly. Right. I know Guy and I have gotten close before.
Right. Well, I mean, luckily it wasn't Risk because but
importantly,
tell you some horror stories.
Like if you've never seen this, which I hope you do. I hope for those listening that you go and watch this movie if you haven't. But the setup for this character is really interesting. The babysitter / love interest that comes over, because right here is where the kid who's playing baby Robin Williams literally gets sucked into the board game and the girl runs away.
Right.
So there's a lot of different ways that a children's movie could have handled this. Right.
Yeah. I did think in that moment, how dare she just abandon her friend?
Dude, it's a 5 or an 8. Like, come on, you got this. Just fucking roll
also,
a 5
it's
or
just
an 8.
bats. Like, it's not like what you see later where the entire house is engulfed in jungle.
One of the funniest line readings in the entire movie is when they move into this house, which, by the way, we're going to have to circle back to this. Why 3 people are buying a giant mansion? I have so many questions
about. Because they got
about.
such a good deal for no particular reason.
Yeah, because 26 years later, that house is still on the market with just all of their shit just perfectly intact. No, but one of the best line readings in the movie is they go up into the attic and they see a bat there. And then they like call the exterminator the next day. And she just describes what the bat looks like. And the exterminator says, that's an African bat. You know, there was a girl who reported an African bat that looked just like that 26 years ago. It's like, what is this man's life that he perfectly recalls? He's like, only one other person in my entire life has brought up African bats.
2.5 decades
and I remember when it happened.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I've been doing this job for too long. I really got to change things up.
The CGI when Alan gets sucked in to the game really blew me away. Again, like that's the type of shit where it just doesn't look quote unquote good.
I think that actually holds up kind of well.
Yeah, but it's like
for 90s.
So I watched the first half of the new Jumanji, the Welcome to the Jungle. I didn't finish it. I only got to like halfway through it. But they do that. When they get sucked into the game, it's like it's the same type of thing, but like updated. And that one looks like quote unquote better because we have better technology to like make that look better. But the way it looks here, it's like, yeah, it doesn't have the nice like shaders and reflections and smoke effects or whatever you want, but it still impressed the hell out of me. Then she runs away and doesn't tell anybody. Or so you think.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, I did like how that's revealed that she actually did try to tell people.
Because it's like, well, then what?
Right.
What what is the course of action if a child tells you that they saw a kid disappear into a board game?
Roll a 5 or a 6.
Just a 5 or an 8.
5 or an 8.
That's all you have to do.
It's the only logical explanation.
So moving forward, what do you think the process was like? Like, as someone who has been actively searching for a home in the greater Orlando area now for buying in this economy, so we think, okay, so the story goes that little Alan, his dad chopped him up into little pieces and put him in the wall. And because of that, they just left the house as it is. Yeah. They were just like, we're not taking any of their shit out. Yeah. Everything is staying pristine, just how they left it 26 years ago.
They swept a little bit.
That's the legend that like the middle schoolers told each other. Like the official story is that he ran away.
Okay, so he ran away.
Right.
So the parents eventually die at some point between 1969 and 1995.
Because 91 was on the gravestone.
Okay, so they died in 91, so fairly recently. Okay.
Yeah.
So that happens. Okay, that actually is even better. That's been, then let's do the math, 22 years. 22 years, their parents haven't moved shit. Their parents are just like, our house will stay exactly the same as it was whenever our son left. And when we die, our house will just like kind of sit here and decay away for like another 4 years or so until somebody eventually comes here and buys this property for what has to be insanely cheap. This is one adult and 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
What does orphan children.
What does their aunt do? Do we know?
Tables?
I think it's tables.
Yeah.
Like she's got to be fucking loaded, man, that she just came in and bought this mansion. Like this is even 1995. This is $1 million house.
Well, it could have been, they got whatever money they got from the parents dying, and the parents could have been rich.
That's what about the shoe factory?
So that's very true. That's the issue. Is this town has gone to absolute shit. It's what's irresponsible is her moving them to this town in particular just because she got a good deal on a nice house.
Yeah,
this town is like a fucking shithole.
There's like literally trash cans on fire just in like the middle of the street in downtown.
Right,
to show you that
it's a town where every resident is homeless.
Also in New Hampshire, if you're seeing this in New Hampshire in the 90s. It's got to be real bad.
It's got to be really fucking bad. If it looks like Hell's Kitchen in the 90s, then there's something wrong with the town.
That scene, though, where like we first see the rundown 90s version of the town, I did get some Fisher King vibes. I was like, are we about to enter the Robin verse right now with him encountering his Fisher King self among the ruins?
Had you all seen this like when you were kids?
Jumanji? Yeah, of course.
I don't know a single person our age who had not seen this.
I think you hadn't though, right?
I didn't see it until later on. I saw Zathura before I saw Jumanji.
Yeah. So that was the same.
Jumanji, I had no memory of any of the flashback stuff.
I can tell talking to you that you're the kind of guy that saw Zathura.
You're a Zathura kid. Yeah, you would be a Zathura kid.
So Zathura is based on a book by the same author as Jumanji, children's book, which I remember reading both of those books. The illustrations are beautiful, very detailed illustrations. So they had a lot of material to pull from for both of these movies.
Dog shit movie. Zathura. I remember as a child
a Jon Favreau film.
It's poop. It's poop. It made what this movie cost to make.
That is a Jon Favreau film, right?
I don't know.
Is it? I genuinely.
It stars Josh Hutcherson.
I love that boy though.
Dax Shepard, Kristen Stewart. I thought it was Kristen Bell for a second.
No, it's like child Kristen Stewart.
Sorry, Zathura : A Space Adventure.
Oh yeah, please don't forget.
And it is a Jon Favreau film.
But it is what I wanted from like a spiritual sequel to Jumanji.
Yeah, space Jumanji.
Well, like the same sort of thing, not just space, the same sort of thing, but like space or fantasy or something else, right?
One thing that I liked about it that I expected when I saw Jumanji eventually was that it actually takes you somewhere else. Jumanji doesn't.
Right.
Jumanji's just in their town. It brings the jungle to the city.
Hold on. They go to the store. What's the store called?
Sir Saves a Lot.
Sir Saves a Lot. So
Don't you dare forget Sir Saves.
That has to be the same store that Nick Cage ran through in Raising Arizona.
Yeah. So it's like, so Sir Saves a Lot is a cross between, I would say, like a Toys R Us and a Dick's Sporting Goods and also Costco and Disney World size. Yeah. Like it's just fucking massive.
Family,
it has
a little
literally
Family
anything
Dollar
you
energy.
could ever possibly want is in this store.
We'll get to Sir Save a Lot.
Yeah.
Plenty of thoughts on that.
One thing, again, I only saw like the first half, but one thing I did appreciate about the remake, reboot, requel, whatever shit, is that they go into the game and you see the inside of the game. Like all you see from
that's what I meant is I was watching this and even rewatching it, I had forgotten that they don't ever enter the game.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Robin's the only one who ever
that's pretty
inside.
crazy.
Yeah. In the Rock Heart Black situation, it is pretty cool how like you are welcomed into the jungle.
Yeah.
It is pretty epic.
This is just in terms of I'm going to keep coming back to this, but that this game has rules, right? And this is part of the scope of the rules. So later in this episode, we're going to come back to this, but I want to talk about what we might have done in this situation, like a similar situation.
That's a segment for our Robin eps.
Yeah.
So
Brett comes prepared.
Thoughts. Yeah.
He knows the Cage gories. Okay. So I think the next like big note that we have to talk about, we mentioned this, but like the arrival of Robin, like that's like that might be, I think there's another moment towards the end that is like in contention for my favorite moment of the movie. But when Robin comes in to the action, it is electric.
So it's bats and then lion.
Yeah. Which by the way, Kirsten Dunst acting when she sees the lion is some of the best acting in the whole movie. Like I loved her performance in that scene. Like I bought it. I was like, damn, this girl is killing it.
They get the mosquitoes, and then they get the lion, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, mosquitoes.
Yeah, because they technically take 3 turns. So it's the monkeys, right?
Monkey. We can't forget, guys. Don't forget the monkeys.
Fuck those monkeys.
The monkeys. They're actually ACAB, so the monkeys are kind of chill.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes, dude.
They turned that city into like Portland demilitarized zone.
So I kept thinking about that because the end of this movie like scrubs all that away, right? Like this town like gets leveled essentially by like elephants. And then they're just like they just undo it.
Yeah, David Onger gets to make his shoe, and then the shoe factory is saved, and then the town is.
I have like a whole thing about the ending of this movie because the ending of this movie is like it's been kind of melting my brain since I rewatched this movie.
We'll get there.
I have so many fucking questions about the end of this movie. But
so Robin comes in. I think his first line is, "Somebody roll a 5 or an 8."
Yes, that's really good. Yeah.
That's
like you know those words have been like stuck in his head for 26 years. Yeah, but I'm surprised he's not. He comes back and he kind of the performance. He's like in and out of this Bushman thing. But if you were gone for that long, he would not know how to speak English anymore. Like his brain would be totally fried, right?
Well, no, because we find out there is that hunter guy that comes out of the game.
Do you think there are more people?
Yeah, it's NPCs.
You're right. I do like that. There's a line during the sequence, or maybe it's a little later, where he's explaining to Peter, like, when Peter's trying to do the reverse psychology, and he's like, "You don't know fear. Like the things that I've seen in the depths of the jungle." Like, so, he probably saw all kinds of crazy fucking shit that we didn't.
Oh yeah. I'm sure that throughout the existence of the game, other humans have been sucked in, but
that's a good point. Like, is there a civilization?
The hunter to me read as an NPC.
Yes.
Especially because like I said, I did watch the new movie, and that's a whole element of the new movie.
It's also like, I mean, it's even more so that it's an NPC. It's more so important to me that it is. I mean, I guess we can talk about it now, but it's
the actor.
His dad.
It's the
his
same
dad
actor.
Plays Van Pelt. It's the same actor, and that's not accidental. It's because it's like the embodiment of his fears and like chasing him to make him go to this boarding school. What actually caused him to play this game in the fucking first place?
Right.
So this game is like
Hunter.
a sick psychological
game. In psychological warfare.
In addition to introducing you to physical horrors beyond your comprehension.
Every character in Jumanji is played by his dad. He is surrounded by his dad.
He has to, if he's horny, he has to fucking.
Dude, so I don't, not getting to that part of it, but like, at what point? It's 26 years in there. He went in when he was 11.
He's a virgin.
He's been, well, yeah.
What the fuck, Ernie?
Yeah, he's been double, like over 2/3 of his life in this jungle world.
Right.
At what point does shit get weird?
I mean, there's some good gorillas out there. I don't know, man.
You see those CGI monkeys and you're like, hey, girl, what we doing?
Yeah,
are you stuck on him fucking in the jungle?
No, I'm just wondering what, like, I can't imagine, like, if we're going to talk about like who you could be in this universe, and I just want to like see this man existing in like year 14 of being in the jungle.
Right.
Like, what is that life like?
This is a huge, like, thinking about, there's so many little things that resonated with me as a kid, and that's one of the things, like, what the fuck was he up to? First of all, like, he survived, like, he fucking made it for so long in like the most dangerous shit ever. So he comes back and you're convinced that he's going to be able to help save these kids. You know, like he's equipped to actually make it through this board game.
Well, and that's why he's actually a lot less silly in this movie than he is in some others that we've seen recently, because he is like utilitarian in purpose to these children. Like,
his silliness comes more from the fact that he has had to live in the jungle, not from
but he doesn't, because, but if they wanted to, they could give Robin time to just like be a kid and it'd be funny.
They could give
like,
him kid brain.
This movie wants to be tight and it wants to stick to its purpose.
Well, also we've seen what happens when Robin goes full kid brain. We're gonna get to that very shortly with Jack.
Oh, geez.
When it's, what if Robin Williams actually did have the brain of a child?
Simple Alan.
His acting during that intro scene is phenomenal. When he starts to realize, because he's calling around like, Mom, Dad, I'm home, I'm back, I'm home.
I want to acknowledge that I'm coming back to this again. Like, this is a true adventure movie, and it's all accomplished in this little town. Like, they didn't need to go to the forest. I think it would have been a totally different, worse movie if they had been transported to the forest.
Well, one of my favorite parts of the movie is how the house becomes the forest.
Yes.
Like, that's the spirit of the book. Like,
and
there's remembering that little, must have been 30-page book that this is based on. That's what happens.
That's where a lot of the budget goes to as well, is because that's like a real set. Oh, and it's like it looks really good.
Incredible sets.
When he comes back, Ernie, what you're talking about, you know, he's looking for his parents. I mean, great emotional beats throughout the movie, like spread out like that. I love that for his performance too. But you get the monkeys, which fucking throw you off because they look like shit. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, but they got shotgun, so
yeah,
they shoot
shotgun.
The practical effects are really fucking good. They look real, like, especially when he's holding back the lion and the lion's on the other side of the door and you can see the claws coming through. Yeah. It all looks legit.
Sorry, I just looked over.
I just unplugged my headphones.
Yeah, I had no clue what you were doing. No, that's right. I mean, this is during a period where like every movie was jumping the gun, getting too psyched for the future of CG. When they really, the thing is with monkeys, it's a lot harder to go practical. You'd have to put a bunch of little guys in suits.
Yeah.
Which other movies did opt to do around
this
time.
movie
That's the thing
does that with the kid. The kid is a monkey. He should have just played all the parts.
Just let him do everything. No,
like
but
Oompa
I think
Loompa style.
Yeah.
It does suck that they don't do more practical stuff, because I think the practical stuff does just look awesome. Like I'm thinking specifically of the plant that you see, that like the vine comes out of it. It's like
it
pulling
flips.
The kid towards
every other shot is practical versus CGI. It like switches back and forth.
Yeah,
right?
and a lot of that like looks really cool. A lot of the stuff looks like the plant thing. I mean, shit, like the old I can't remember the year of it, but the Little Shop of Horrors, that live action movie, kind of really showcase like the best possible version of a puppet plant, and this kind of takes that and puts even more of a budget on it, because I think the plants, just the shrubbery in general that's live action, looks fucking great. It all looks beautiful. Would you live in this house, like minus the alligators, minus the plants that can't actually kill you?
You can't minus out things that are in the house. They're in the house.
There's definitely a lion in the guest bed, right?
Yes.
Like at all times.
Yeah, but that means no, you don't have to invite it. Don't have to invite the in-laws.
I did like the insect that was trying to get through the glass. That was pretty chill. I think I'd be okay with that.
One that I'm absolutely not scared of is those dinky ass spiders.
Dude, that was so cool. Like, they were just trying to walk around.
Stop motion.
They're just walking around. They're like,
literally
hey,
just
guys,
they're like
we're walking around.
They're walking like in place.
Yeah.
They're just having strings pulled on each leg.
And then they're like, get the axe.
Yeah,
axe
go
them.
get the axe.
Like,
Meanwhile, they're
just
like,
walking around.
Also, you could just
step on that.
Yeah, like
bitch.
they're still I know they're like big spiders, but like just like
It has
one
an
well,
edge.
stomp could kill 'em.
So all right. I wouldn't be living in this house by myself. I'd be living with Lee. And there would be no stomping of any creatures.
That's true.
You have to get like a glass and like just
my house is already halfway there to being overcome with plants. Like when we get the shot of like the full overgrown house, I was like, this is my future. And Lee was like, oh yeah, you better.
It's
you
either
betcha.
it's either this or it's Fern Gully. And the decision is up to America.
Well, Fern Gully's different because Fern Gully, you get small. This is the forest coming into
go to jungle,
our
get
size.
small.
We're not getting small.
Go
in
to
jungle.
beach, get old. Go to jungle, get small.
It's a completely different thing where it's like, all right, here I am in my space, and the jungle surrounds the space. Versus I go small and then go in the jungle.
So, he goes outside. Immediately encounters David Alan Grier, who, because losing his job as the soul man, has become a police officer. Thanks a lot, Alan. David Alan Grier is, I think, the best part of the movie.
Perfect balance of the energy.
Man,
he's definitely the funniest part of the movie.
He's such a devoted cop. He just wants to do his job. Like literally, like the end of days, the rapture is happening around him, and he's just like, there's a suspicious individual at the old parish house. I got to go down there. And he's just driving his car. Completely.
So
incredible bit.
Assumingly so his car, the monkeys get into his car and drive it off, but he doesn't see the monkey part.
Right.
So to his knowledge, his car malfunctioned and drove off and crashed itself. And he gets right back in it when he finds it. And he's like, I got to get back to that caveman guy. That was crazy.
I love how there's just like two streets in this whole town.
Yeah, it's
at any point, any character can just find the other one.
There's three. There's Main Street, Parish Street, and then just Country Road.
Right.
Those are the three spots where we have.
Yeah. I also love how Monkey just knows how to operate heavy vehicle.
These monkeys are pieces of shit. They're bots. They're NPC monkeys.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they're programmed to do.
Yeah.
In other children's movies, you might have had like, the kids see the monkeys doing all this shit. They see all this wacky stuff and the adults never see it. So like they would never believe the kids, right? That's what you might expect to happen. But this movie handles it in like a totally different way that leaves you. I know you're talking about how you have questions, Hunter, like later on, like, but it starts with like the next character we meet, which is Sarah, who is one of my favorites in this, played by Bonnie Hunt.
Yeah. It's a great introduction.
Before we get to Sarah, just write one real quick thing. And then I love Bonnie Hunt, so I'm excited to talk about her. But first we go to the rundown shoe factory, which once again, just left just the same way as it was 26 years ago.
They just walked out of
They just left all the shoes, all the machinery. It's just sitting there.
That's prime real estate too.
Yeah.
Like
not in this
building.
shithole town.
And then there are a bunch of bums like burning trash and trash cans, like they're on the set of Rent.
And there is also just one guy just living up in the office.
No, that's my.
Well, that's the Fisher King.
Yeah,
he is
literally
such an interesting character.
what happens to him?
I don't know.
He just goes away. He definitely had another
so
scene.
They go up. He provides a lot of exposition, really, really up front. He's just met a caveman and some children, and he's like, man, you want a coffee? he's so accommodating and friendly to them.
Well, he just gives him his clothes.
Is Robin in beard mode during that scene? I think he's shaven.
Or no, he's still completely Bushman because he hasn't gotten the clothes
with the
yet.
turtle backpack.
Yeah, because he has on like a grass loincloth is like the only thing that's covering him, and that's why he gets offered like some clothes.
Yeah. Do you think that was
like
Robin's note for how he wanted to dress? Like, did he have input in his costume?
He's like, films are actively trying to hide how hairy I am, and I will not let Jumanji. Like, this is where my bushy ass forearms come to live.
He definitely grew out his beard, right? Or is that a fake beard?
I thought how real that beard looked. Also,
yeah, I think they definitely shot all those scenes first, and then he shaved.
It depends on what his shooting schedule was like for everything else, because he was a busy man. You can't do that if you're shooting anything else,
right?
Because I think that beard takes a minute.
For a situation like this, you might expect some character to recognize, like, that guy is basically like the bird lady in Home Alone, or like Gandalf, where they're just like a side character, but they know things.
Yeah.
I was expecting that guy to know that was Alan just by fucking looking at him. Like, he's like, Jesus has returned to the shoe factory. Like, that was it. The movie could have went in that direction where he takes over the shoe factory again.
He's just sort of nonplussed. And I think that is really why this movie ends up working so well for me, is because the outside world is insane too. Like, every adult living in this world is so fucking ridiculous that they take things so in stride. There's no like, there's hardly like a wait a minute. It's just like, oh, there was a big stampede and like monkeys are taking over the state. We gotta get in there and steal some electronics right now.
Yeah,
that works because
I would do that.
I think that works because everybody's on board and they're not trying to hide it, but also the movie's 0 to 100.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like you'd expect the cop to be like, why is my car driving away? But it's just happening so
exactly.
quickly.
That's the exact right move to take. I don't want a bunch of adults trying to like litigate what's happening. That would be too much.
You don't want them to like have like a nice like emergency town meeting and discuss like what we're gonna do about the stampede. I will say, and FBI, CSA, listen in real close right now. What I'm about to say. If there's ever a stampede in Orlando, I'm looting immediately. Mm-hmm. Like, before I check and see on my loved ones, my family.
Yeah, where are you looting?
If I see an elephant going down Colonial, that's it. Like, I'm going to Best Buy. I'm grabbing all the blues.
Yeah. The thing about how sprawled out the city is, though, is like, if you see an elephant on this side of town and you start looting Best Buy, like, they'll be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I'll be like, "No, dude,
elephant."
I saw an elephant on Edgewater. You guys, it's crazy. They'll be like,
You're
guess
under arrest.
I guess we give you the right to loot now. Sorry, I don't know.
He saw an elephant, guys. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Hunter's PlayStation. He's gonna do it though.
Look, I'm just saying, I'm looting.
But getting back to Bonnie Hunt, that is why she was a fucking delight for me, because she brings this like silliness that Robin isn't quite allowed to bring to the movie.
Yes,
David Alan Grier does too, but he's even more acknowledging that something weird is going on at a certain point. He gets great reaction shots of just like, he's like, what?
And they're always good. You're never like,
he's fucking funny, man. He's a seasoned actor at this point. He's been in a billion comedies.
When Sarah's character comes into the story, before we even see the adult version with Bonnie, that was when I kind of perked up a little bit, and I was like, whoa, this is a great choice. I forgot that this movie made this choice, because I just assumed with the initial setup that character was never going to return. I didn't remember that part of the movie. And I was like, oh, this is great that she still is in the game. And her piece is on the board.
She has to be there.
And she's very additive. Like that, she's additive to the puzzle of the movie in that way, but also she's additive to the vibe, because a lot of it's in her acting choices and in the way it's written. She's just like become like sort of like an astrology cutie.
Yeah, she's a psychic. She like literally has a line where she's just like, oh, it's like such Libra energy.
Yeah.
Like
She's just become
like, oh man, really ahead of its
like
time.
Kind of
like,
just like a weirdo from all this insane trauma she went
so
through.
just gonna quick tangent here. Do we think that Bonnie Hunt's character, she has a chance to go start over and like just really recreate her life? Does she create CoStar?
CoStar?
Great
What
question.
is CoStar?
CoStar, the astrology app.
Oh,
come on.
CoStar. Yeah.
No,
Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
not
you
a
would say
fucking
that.
Aries.
I don't
Although I am an
Yeah, you
Aries.
are. What are you?
I'm a total Aries that doesn't give a shit about astrology. Classic Aries over here.
okay. So she has this weird whimsy to her where you're not looking for an insane, like weighty moment of her being like, Alan, like there's, like in the tears flow.
Yeah.
There isn't like an appropriate reaction from her. And then she, you get into just like what she's become instead of like having her entire earth shaken up again.
Yeah.
She definitely does not want to fuck with them and she does not want to play with them, which makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
And this starts a really, really great comedic run. I would say begins the moment she passes out and the boys like, we killed her. And then cut to them just carrying her. That starts a run of like what I would call great movie.
Yeah.
Like for maybe like 45 minutes after that. Like
you have really great motivations for her, and she answers in the script. She like answers some of the main questions you might have. She's like, yeah, when you disappeared, I told the cops that you disappeared into a board game, and
and it's like so fucking
me.
what? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
She got put on meds.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she
She's
got
like, I need my
pilled out.
dosage checked.
I will say, because she's like gets very like aggro against Robin Williams. Like, I was alone for 26 years. Robin Williams was like, I was also alone. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, you were alone, like metaphorically and emotionally. I was literally in the jungle fighting for my life every night. Like, this is not
she
quite
tries
the
to like
same.
sort of equate what they both been through.
It's like, I don't not quite
That is one of my favorite moments, because at first I was on your side. I'm like, yeah, clearly Robin had it worse. Like, he was in the fucking jungle, which he did sort of, but the way that they perform that and like talk to each other about it, I'm like, yeah, okay, they're a little bit even here, because yeah, her life has probably been like hell since.
Well, it's also
Yeah.
the only way to make their eventual relationship not that weird is to make it very clear that she has been stunted in the exact same way as him. Like Bonnie Hunt is acting like a kid.
Yeah,
like,
she's
never
a
a child.
Yeah, she never grew up past this point of being 11 years old because she got gaslit by everyone in her life that what she saw did not actually happen.
Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense, and it makes things a lot less creepy when they could be.
Less creepy. There is some weirdness there.
I mean,
on
sure.
both sides a little bit.
But for a kids movie, I like what they did. They made it so they're just still kids instead of becoming. She's an adult and she's like, oh, I'm a librarian now and I'm very serious. She's just still like a silly goose.
So they get her to start playing the game again. Then we get this next stretch of the movie where it's like, boom, beat after beat after beat of rounds of the game, and more shit going down with each round that escalates the situation. I really like. Oh, well, at this point, the hunter guy.
Yeah,
comes
we
in.
meet Van Pelt at this point.
So that this guy has a fucking what is that? A blunderbuss? Just
a blunderbuss, but like incredible range on this thing. Like,
just absolutely wrecking. I did like there. I'm trying to remember exactly when it happens, but Robin whips out his sword fighting skills from the set of Hook.
Hell yeah.
There's like a quick.
Yeah.
Who does he sword fight? Do you remember?
No, yeah, he grabs. It's when the vine is holding on to Peter.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
he
has
to cut the vine.
He apologizes to like his great grandfather Parrish because he needs to use his like colonial blade.
Oh my god.
The origins of this family's wealth may go a little beyond the Shoe Factory.
Yeah.
Really weird vibes coming from dad.
There is a statue that is eventually being like, just like degraded out in the town square. Is this like a?
All right.
Is this like a dark Confederate town.
I didn't want to
in New Hampshire.
I don't know, man. There might be something weird.
Confederate town in New Hampshire.
Look, I don't know. I'm just
back when it was Old Hampshire.
I'm questioning the motivations of the Parrish family. Okay.
I didn't want to go here, but I read like a theory on Reddit, which is like a primary source.
Yeah,
about how
it's
Jumanji was
peer reviewed.
Yeah, Jumanji was created to like punish white slave owners by like, because it's like clearly I don't remember exactly what it says, but it was like it's an African game.
It is,
but it's in English. On the front, it's in English. It says Jumanji like in English.
Yeah,
right.
It only subjects white people to it.
Right. Well, yeah.
I don't know. David Allen Greer, like,
he's caught in the crossfire.
Tangentially is kind of
he didn't roll the dice.
Yeah, but he would never play. He'd be like, fuck that shit. I don't know.
His life kind of gets ruined by these fucking monkeys that these kids created. So
they didn't create them. Well, they came out of the world.
They fabricated them from this fucking book.
Right. Okay. So then we get a lot of just what I would call fun kids movie action.
Yeah,
get Pelican steals book.
Yeah,
chase after book.
And like you said, Brett, it's a 0 to 100 thing. Like things just start happening once they start playing. It's just like, okay, here's movie. Like,
and how do we get to this to the store? How do they go from the house to the store? Because that
no. So what happens? Okay, so here's the book gets
my brain was spiraling.
So book gets stolen by the Pelican, and then they're like kind of they have to chase him down. We have that moment where what's the kid's name? Peter like saves the book. Just incredible athleticism on this guy. He got like a perfect angle to know like where the book is flowing down the river. Like just great job, great pursuit by that kid.
Okay.
Then Van Pelt is like hunting them down in the woods. Eventually like is able to get to them. He gets the book first because they like work their way back in town,
right? Because there's only one street.
Alan gets arrested. They get separated because Carl arrests
there
Alan.
You go
arrested by like purposefully arresting himself so that because he knows Van Pelt is like actively shooting at him.
Yeah. And then miraculously at that exact same moment there is a mysterious 911 call that is reporting a disturbance involving a woman and 2 children at the store, so that he can hear it and knows that he has to go there.
Okay. What do you think about, so during that sequence, right before that, what do you think about Van Pelt going to the gun store?
There's
a sequence of him.
I really love it because it's so stupid.
He just has coins. He has like 10
he has
coins.
so coins and they're like lock the front door.
There's like grenade launchers.
Yeah, exactly. It's a dumb kids movie thing though, where if you're a kid, he goes in there and you're just left to assume that this gun store clerk knows the value of those coins, which are
doubloons,
nondescript. And
well,
he's
I mean, they're Jumanji coins.
I should give this guy a fucking bazooka.
I should give this guy just like the nicest AR in the world.
I like that scene.
I like how Van Pelt holds up the bullet and he's like, I need more of these. And the guy's like, man, we haven't made those since 1903.
I know. Pulls the date like just right off the top. It's the same energy as the guy who's like, we haven't seen that African bat here since 1969. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to play anybody in trivia from this town because their recall is insane.
Yeah, especially when it comes to weapons.
Yeah.
So then one of my favorite moments in the movie happens where Robin drives a car through this the front window of this store, and he definitely like murders multiple people in the way of this car as he crashes through.
This is just such a great like coalescing of events that go on at the store. I genuinely loved everything that happened here. It's so much fun because right before that you do get some character stuff. He knows, that it's Alan at that point. David Allen Greer is convinced that it's Alan, which is like a big, again, it's David Allen Greer is also like a child, basically, which
for sure.
Yeah. Which is why he's more willing to believe something like that.
Also, just one quick thing. I love the shots of them driving where he's handcuffed because he handcuffs him to the door. And then Robin Williams hears like, oh no, we have to go to the store together and you're my only ride. But I already threw the keys like into the bushes. So like scoot over, buddy. I'm going to drive this.
He's still handcuffed to the door frame.
I really like they really I love how they close out some of these like random little tangent points, like when they do finally get to the store and Carl still has his handcuffs. So he like finds a saw, obviously, in this like Walmart,
just right next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to shout out from there's a lot of chaos happening here. There's so much packed into this little sequence. Little Petey builds like
it's like a Home Alone style contraption, but he comes up with this in like 90 seconds. He's like, all right, there's 2 like gas tanks, and then I'm gonna chop this down on these surfboards to go flying over with these wheels. Insane the contraption that he came up with.
The moment where the hunter guy like slips, that was like Zillennial canon being birthed. That was like an early Zillennial canon moment where he's like, whoa, I'm slipping on this green substance. Whoa.
There's a lot of this movie is kind of the birth of Zillennial canon in a lot of ways. Like so much of this movie is just so like kind of goes on to define like half of DCOMs are from something in this movie. Just department stores in general. That's my favorite. This is my favorite scene of the movie, is everything that happens in the department store. It's just like a kid's dream of like, I just want to like, I want chaos to ensue in a department store. And I want there to be a bad guy that I have to like push a wall of paint onto. Like, that's just, it's perfect.
The fact that man was not killed by like 90 gallons of paint.
Were he a man, he probably would have been killed.
Right.
But he is
from another realm. Mm-hmm. He is from the jungles of Jumanji.
Yeah, that all owns one shift that happens here is Kirsten Dunst becomes basically like a non-factor throughout this chunk of the movie.
Just along for the ride.
Well, it's because they're really trying to shoehorn in this Alan growth where he like refuses to congratulate Peter for doing all this insanely cool shit.
Yeah.
Which is, it feels so shoehorned. It's insane. The initial beat, like
just like a daddy issue.
Well, it's just the initial beat of it just like doesn't even play because you're just like, what? Where he climbs the on the branch and grabs the thing, and then there's just this weird.
And everybody's like, "Great job, Peter! Great job, Peter!" And Robin Williams just like turns around, and you're like, "What?
Okay.
What the fuck is that?"
One of the quotes I wrote down there when he says 26 years in the jungle and I still became my father.
Yeah.
Like that's in a kid's movie, dude.
Think about
it. I think that's another thing that Robin carried over from Hook. He was like, look, I need a lot more daddy issues,
dude,
and not enough daddy issues.
That's a thing in a lot of these movies. Toys, there's some daddy issues in toys. I think that Robin Williams is just trying to exercise some demons on screen. And listen, honey, we're here for it. We've all got some daddy issues of our own.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not given enough actual time for it to actually feel meaningful, at least for me, just because it's so like, okay, this is the one moment where we're going to address this and then we're moving on, because the movie has a lot of shit to do. Like this movie has an insane amount of plot to get through, and it's, as a result, it's not very interested in interrogating the fact that these children's their parents both just died at all. And so instead it opts to go this route because Alan is, after all, supposed to be our protagonist. So it makes sense that it's in here.
Let's try to power through the last bit of the movie and then we can get to the categories. So basically they get back to the house to finish the game. More rounds, more rolls. The aunt comes back. We get one of my favorite moments in the whole movie where like everything becomes overgrown and then a monsoon hits.
Yeah.
Which like
little rain never hurt anyone, but a lot of rain
is good shit. That is some good movie making right there.
Ernie, you mentioned this earlier, but the house set, like in that final act of the movie, looks amazing.
Yeah, I love the shit out of it. When it's not only when it's all overgrown, that's amazing. But then when it starts to like break apart too, it's like, damn, they went for it.
So let's go ahead and talk about it now, because we haven't really talked about him yet, but this is kind of a good portion of this discussion to talk about Joe Johnston.
Yeah.
Because this man was like, he's kind of a legend for like kids movies.
Low key, like legendary auteur.
So it started with he directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in 1989.
Well, Rocketeer was before that.
Rocketeer is 91. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is 89.
Oh, shit.
I love Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah,
that
Me
movie
too.
rips.
Yes.
Absolutely rocks.
That was like my kind of fantasy movie when I was a kid.
He did October Sky.
Yeah, so he did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, 89, The Rocketeer, 1991. He co-directed The Page Master, which was always one of my favorite movies as an adult or as a kid. He directed all the live action sequences in Page Master. Then Jumanji, 95, October Sky, 99, and then things kind of went downhill.
Yeah.
Then he
3.
was like,
Alan.
they were like, we're gonna, this guy's like pretty much the next Spielberg.
Yeah.
And so let's give him Jurassic Park 3, 2001.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Hidalgo.
Dude, Hidalgo. It's Viggo Mortensen is like, you just starred in the Academy Award winning Lord of the Rings trilogy. What will you do next?
They're like
Hidalgo.
They're like,
I'm
hey,
Hidalgo.
Vigo, you're obviously going to keep the facial hair, right? It makes you look like a human being. He's like, no, I think I'm going to shave and look like a freak the rest of my life. Thanks.
Then he makes The Wolfman in 2010.
Oh, I want to see that so bad. Benicio del Toro as the Wolfman.
He is that's a cool idea.
I want to see it.
I've never heard a single take about this movie, so I don't know. Then Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah. Harry's favorite Marvel movie.
Friend of the pod, Harry loves that movie. I think it's kind of a mids Marvel movie, to be honest.
It is a Joe Johnston movie, though. Like if you watch that movie, you can find a lot of the same sort of energy that you find in Jumanji. That's sort of like heightened. Sort of, I don't know, the moviness of it.
Do you think that like his original idea for whenever like Cap comes out, like scrawny Cap goes to buff Cap, and they're like, now cover him in hair.
Yeah.
Cover him in hair and give him a grass loincloth.
What year is it?
So Captain America, The First Avenger, Not Safe for Work, which I don't know what that is. Lumen, a TV movie, and The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, which I refuse. That's not a real movie. That's not a real movie. I don't care. That movie doesn't exist. And yeah, like it really, did
you see what his next movie?
The New Millennia did not go well for him. Well, he's slated to make Chronicles of Narnia, The Silver Chair. And also
Shrunk, dude.
He's coming back to where it all started.
Yeah, the remake
for the reboot of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, just known as Shrunk.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Coming to Disney Plus.
Cool. But yeah, no, like that 10-year run is insane.
Movie.
If they don't do practical effects for that movie, I'm gonna fucking kill I'm not
Shrunk.
What if they bring back
I know they're just gonna do it in like a giant studio with a blue screen.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be sad.
Probably going to be
because it's going to look really good, but it's not going to, I want the blade of grass to look like it's made of paper mache.
You want like Whose Line Is It Anyway style, the props.
Just
literally, yes. That's like, I didn't like that movie because I was fully immersed in it. I liked it because it was funny to look at.
Yeah.
It is a very fun movie to look at. No, but like Joe Johnston like directs the fucking hell out of this movie. Like this movie is so much. This movie was like in the wrong hands, this could kind of fall apart despite the good aspects of this movie.
Yeah.
He does kind of hold things together. Aspects like story beats and trying to like cram in emotional. I don't put that on Joe Johnston. He's not a writer.
Also we're not fucking around with Jurassic Park budget, and we have a lot of animals to animate. So like,
yeah. Also, it's based on a children's book and it's a movie for children. So I think he does a pretty exemplary job at making a kids movie that doesn't feel like it's for babies.
Yeah,
like you could actually like watch it and enjoy it.
When things get wild, it becomes like just broad fun comedy. Because like we said earlier, it's a lot of it is visual based, and that's timeless and like it's mindlessly funny in a good way, not in a like derogatory way. It's just naturally funny. The issues with the movie are they're in like the script. And it's not, I don't care about the like, plot holes or like inconsistencies. That's not the issue. It's really a matter of pacing and timing for me, where it's just bizarrely done. When Bonnie Hunt finally joins them and agrees to play and they sit down to play, I feel like we're almost an hour in, and that is too far in, I think, to get to what I'm waiting for. And I know you want to applaud the patience in the storytelling, and I would. However, then the rest of the movie should take its time too, because I feel like we rushed through what's supposed to be the best part. And if that part was longer as well, then the ratio wouldn't feel so wrong. But it feels like the ratio is just totally off here.
Yeah.
When I would think about this movie, like prior to this most recent watch through, I would kind of rack my brain for what happened in like the second half of the movie. But then watching it now, I'm realizing there wasn't more stuff. It just was a really small amount of things that actually happened.
Yeah, and the payoff, the chaos is so good. Like it's really, really well executed. And that's when a lot of movies like this actually falter. It's just weird that they chose to make it so short when they took so much time establishing the world. That doesn't make any sense to me, unless they ran into budget concerns or like reshoot problems, stuff like that.
I don't believe so. No, I think it was just a matter of just like they went as far as they thought they could with such a small source material. Like that book is very short.
I think that's kind of what I think that's really where the line is that at the end of the day, like this is source material, but because like you said, it's like 30 pages, you are just really having to brush with broad strokes here to like make a story out of this book. It's funny, while watching this movie, I kept just like saying to myself, like, if I'm part of this game right now, we are speed going through this game. I want to wrap this game up in 15 minutes, like no breaks. Yeah. We're going to let chaos ensue around us. Let's just keep fucking going. Let's get done with this. But like they like have one turn and then they're like, let's go explore the consequences of that turn for the next 2 hours.
The unbelievable amount of times that someone accidentally rolls in this game, in this movie, or is tricked into rolling is incredible.
Yeah. Or where they I keep thinking about the moment where he's like stuck, he gets like quicksanded into the floorboard.
Just put him in your mouth.
Stuck. That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what makes this movie like really kind of stand out from otherwise just being something that's lost to time, is that it has enough of these little things that like, whoa, that's a really unique thing that they put thought into to kind of build out this idea.
It has an internal logic to it. And that's why I don't think it's a matter of like, that's all movie making stuff. And so I feel like you could come up with more to flesh out, making maybe a 2-hour movie, maybe a little shorter than 2 hours.
Well, I mean, do you go into the game?
No, like you just do more of what they were doing. You just have more roles and make up more like little mini quests to go down.
But I mean, do you think at a certain point it does kind of reach like law of diminishing returns here? Like at what point is it just like, I think, oh my God, let's finish up this game?
I think we had 2 more solid scenes in us before it hit that point in this movie, because we waited a long time to get to it.
I don't know. The more and more I think about it, I do have a problem. I think that the first 20, really up until, I wouldn't even say 29 minutes till Robin shows up. I think the first 20 to 22 minutes until we get to 1995, that takes too long to get there.
Yeah.
But once we get to 1995, I think the movie locks in, and I'm like pretty much in for the last 80 minutes or so of this movie.
I think you needed more of a big bad. I think the Pelt Hunter guy could have been a little bit more menacing. Maybe you throw in a bit of a bigger menacing jungle creature.
Well, I think so. I was going to bring this up whenever we got to the categories, but we can talk about it now. So do we think, because the whole thing, Van Pelt is played by Jonathan Hyde, the same person who plays Alan Parrish's dad. So like they had to have addressed that in some earlier version of the script,
That's
in some
correct.
earlier
The same
version
guy.
of the movie.
Yeah,
they had to talk about that.
Because there's not a single line about it.
There's no line. It's just that they are played by the same character. It's kind of a wasted
opportunity.
Yeah. And so I think I don't even think that he needs to be a big bad, but I almost feel like they needed something more to do with that character. I don't know if you want to paint him as like a sympathetic character. I don't know if you want to lead to like Robin Williams giving some kind of like movieification speech about like, I realize you're actually the manifestation of all of my hate, father. But like, I don't know. I don't know how exactly to fix it, but I think that needs to be acknowledged.
I don't think it does. I like it a lot more this way. And that goes along with all the stuff we got at the beginning with Alan Parrish and the Parrish family. I like that all of the stuff is super understated. There is so much craziness happening all over the place that we don't need crazy performances. We don't need emotional exposition. I think it works. And again, thinking about it as a kid's movie when I was a kid, and I didn't realize that it was the same actor. This is just triggering like subconsciously in my own brain, right?
They hide it well. I think it's like it's meant to fool you and then like make you kind of dig a little bit. I think that you're right.
Look, when I was like 7, I was a big Jonathan Hyde fan. I was like, I'd recognize, dude, that's the guy from Titanic, man. I'd recognize it's the guy from Anaconda. I'd recognize that face anywhere.
It's so all the parents watching can be like, my little tyke has no idea how scared he's going to be of me.
Right.
He has no idea the issues I'm going to give him.
So the only other note I have of this movie is that the fucking kid grabs the axe and looks into the camera.
I love that.
I liked it. I don't care.
Like, what?
It's a scene. It's so out of nowhere that he's just like grabbing the axe, tries to break into the shed, and he's like, and then just looks at the camera. It's like
it was going to be a crazy day.
I gotta say, guys, I fucking hated that shit.
I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what is that?
It did not belong in this movie.
But it's at a point,
right?
It's at the point. The reason why I liked it is because at that point we're at pure chaos. Like it's just full madness is happening all around us at this point. So like, fuck it, let's have a look towards the camera moment. Like, who cares?
I liked it a lot because it reminded me of like Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Okay,
it's like an old school cartoon thing. And at this point, like you said, the movie has become a cartoon. Like it's just pure insanity. There's no real human left in the story. And so he might as well just like Bugs does at a crazy moment. He's like, you fucking seeing this shit, you guys?
Maybe
turn into a monkey.
I have a thing about immersion breaking, and when it's just super random like that, and it doesn't jive with me.
You're more of like a Deadpool guy.
My favorite movie is Deadpool.
He never breaks character.
You can go and say it now that you're recasting for Robin Williams is Ryan Reynolds.
You
just put Ryan Reynolds in here.
No. Ryan Reynolds is going to be Peter, the little kid.
Yeah. No, he's going to be every role.
He's Baby Alan.
Yeah. I think we should get to categories. Are there any thoughts on like the end of the movie?
Things wrap up.
Reset.
I know that we can talk about all these ramifications. I love the way that the movie ends. I almost think we could have spent a little more time while they're still playing the game and they almost figure out like, wait, we can go back in time and like do, you know what I mean? Get a little more Back to the Future with it. Not much though. Like I like that it's pretty succinct and they undo everything and is happy and you get to be like, wow, that's wild. And then you think a little harder about it and you're like, wait a minute. Oh my God.
Wouldn't everything be different? The butterfly effect of it all.
This is like the perfect kids movie ending.
Exactly.
Where you have all these
too deep.
You have all the stakes and with all the danger that's happening, but you also have this like horrible emotional damage for everybody. That's also understated. Like, you know, the kid's parents dying, Bonnie Hunt's life is ruined, Robin Williams' life is ruined.
They're both like 39-year-olds in these children's bodies now.
Yeah.
And they've both lived drastically different lives.
No, I like how they address that too, where they acknowledge that, yes, they're like that for like 5 minutes, but it's
like
fades.
Fading.
Yeah, she's like, I can feel the adult fading away.
I missed
and
that.
That's when she kisses him. She's like, before I become a kid again, I have the courage.
She finally gets that peck.
Yeah,
she wanted it earlier.
A little bit of blood from his
liver. So they don't have any recollection of like the 26 years of life that they lived?
No, they definitely do.
They do because they recognize the kids at the Christmas party.
So that's the thing is that like it's like it's more so disturbing because you know Robin Williams, like he lived 26 years as like an ape person. Like he lived in the jungle. That's like
how you live, dude.
That basically is how I live. Working from home has done wonders for me. But like for him, like he's starting over as a kid. He's like he'll be able to like kick those little kids' asses now because he like punched lions in the face. But Bonnie Hunt has like experienced womanhood. She's like lived an entire life.
She's an astrologer. She's a palm reader.
She's done so much, like experienced so much, and now she just has to go back just being 11. Like that's insane.
And mostly
the fucking
fades,
concept
man.
of that
it
is
fades, but they just
insane.
like remember parts. And like it's it's like dairy probably. Like every now and then they're just reminded.
Do you think that Bonnie Hunt was just like, we got to buy stock in Apple?
Yeah. No, because I don't think that.
Well, as the 90s, that was like the dark period of Apple. That was like when Steve Jobs.
They're like, we have to sell all of our Apple.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Don't buy that Apple
Yeah.
stuff.
They're like, we need to invest in Circuit City.
Yeah, Radio Shack.
Radio Shack is gonna be booming. Toys R Us is on the rise, guys. Let me tell you, I had this really cool department store. Sir Saves a Lot. We're going all in on department stores.
Holy
to the moon.
No, I think that it's like kind of a fucking nutso ending. Like if you think about it, so the kids have no recollection. The kids have basically like the first 11 years of their life have just been like wiped from the history.
Yeah.
Well, everything's been wiped from history. They reset all of time.
So they
all the way back.
So
to
you show
60.
up, you get hired by this like shoe sale. He still owns the shoe factory, right?
Yeah, he runs that shit good.
Yeah, he runs the shoe factory.
They invented J's.
Yeah, they just invent some sick ass. They invent high tops. So they have this big old Christmas party, hire these people so they can bring their kids over. First of all, they have to be like actively pursuing this family. Like, what happens if the dad's just like, no, I don't want to go into shoes. I don't want to go into advertising for shoes.
This is all circumstance. They're not like pursuing these kids, like looking through their Facebook profiles, like trying to figure out how to hire their dad to come and work here. It's just part of this like suspension of disbelief,
right?
That they hire a marketer, and it just so happens that
I don't believe that. I think that they're actively just like, it's March 1st, 1985. Little Peter was born today. I think that, and then they invite them and they're like, hey kids, you're alive.
I didn't.
Parents do not go skiing in
I didn't
Canada.
see it as like a pure coincidence that they ended up there. I don't see it as like a creepy, weird like pursuit thing, but I think they did actively like try to find those people.
Right. They're clearly like drawn to
them.
That.
Like when they show up, it's like, there they are. There's the kids. Like they're not like shocked that they're there.
If
they're like, yeah, these are the kids. Like we were right for bringing this guy in to work for us.
If it wasn't for those kids, they wouldn't be there. Like their lives.
Yeah,
he would still be in the jungle.
They did it on purpose. I'm sure that they figured out like what the parents did, and they were like, okay, let's just give a great offer, and that was that.
Yeah, they're willing to overpay. Mm-hmm. I have one more question though. Go to the categories. We're gonna play a game. It's called What's Weirder? Is it weirder for Bonnie Hunt to kiss Robin Williams, knowing that he has the brain of an 11-year-old, or for Robin Williams to kiss Bonnie Hunt after only being able to picture 11-year-old her in his head for the last 26 years?
I have a third entry for Bonnie Hunt to kiss Robin Williams, knowing that he looks like Robin Williams. in the moment that she is kissing him.
Wait, when exactly is this kiss happening? Is this kiss happening when they're children? Are you saying which or?
They almost smooch a few times in the adult world, and then they do smooch as kids.
It's definitely, it doesn't read as weird when they're children because it's like,
well, yeah, no, when they're kids, I feel like that's fine. But there's like the chemistry that they're about to smooch when they're adults. And for which one of them is it weirder?
It's like, this is like Robin Williams, no-win scenario.
This is like the only woman that Robin Williams has been able, has had in his head for the last 26 years.
He didn't want to kiss her. That's why he backed out, because she wanted it. She was like, I need to match.
He was like, no, I'm Sigma.
Yeah. I need to be a jungle man.
I'm the lonely stoner.
I don't know. What do you think, Brett? What's weirder?
I think
Brett, weigh in.
It's definitely weirder that she's kissing basically an 11-year-old while she's still an adult.
It's like a big situation.
Yeah, like if I went to my high school reunion, it's my
big.
old crush. Am I a creep? No.
Dude, let's not.
She's
talk
an
about
adult
the
now. You know?
Oh my god. But the movie logic there is that it's not weird because of that level playing field that they established that we talked about. That
they're both children.
Yeah.
I think adults. That she's just in the heat of the moment that he basically just went full like aggro, like Tarzan mode.
Maybe like because she, made these crazy claims when she was a kid. she was like institutionalized and then lobotomized like they did with women in the 60s for real. And so she legitimately has a child's brain.
There you go. Okay.
What if there's an alternate version of this movie where the second Robin Williams comes back, he's freaking out because he needs to go back to his family in the jungle that he just got sucked back out of. He's been raising for 26 years.
He has like
an ape family.
Like one of those fucking monkeys.
Like Caesar. It's like Caesar in Planet of the Apes.
He's basically is like an ape person with how fucking hairy.
He really
so,
is.
you know, he could probably blend in.
That would be awesome. To be
He's
honest.
like, let me back. Let me back in.
Hold on a second. Has anybody seen the new movie, The Rock Jumanji movie?
No, I've heard it's surprisingly pretty good.
I saw the first one, not the sequel.
Okay, so you saw this. Okay, I was watching the first one today and I didn't get all the way through it. I only watched the first half. Is Robin Williams in like the end of that movie? Does he make an appearance?
Not that I remember.
Because he's credited in the movie and he was not in the first half that I saw.
I literally just don't fucking remember.
Because I think that's the opportunity where like you show him in the game. You do like a DH Robin Williams with like a family, you know, he like married an orangutan or something and they have like beautiful children.
Man, so that's so true. And then he has to go back to being a child and he's like, man, I have a monkey family out there somewhere just living their life without
personas.
I wanted to ask you guys, like, what is it about this movie? Like watching this movie, I love this. I still love this movie. I think it's fantastic, but it has like really mixed reviews. The box office was pretty good. So is the concept of the movie better than the movie itself because the reboot did like $1 billion in the box office?
It's crazy.
The concept, this movie isn't executed as well as it could have been. And I think that's really clear.
Well, the concept of the new one is the inverse. It's not the same.
Well,
concept.
yeah, I have nothing to say about the new one. I'm just saying this movie in particular, there is an A+ concept and the execution is an A+. And that most of that lies in the storytelling. Yeah. That said, it's still good enough that it's very enjoyable. It's just like, if you were to try to critique the movie, there are very clear, specific things that you could point out that if changed would be improvements. And so if you're a movie critic, you can't just straight up say, yeah, every moment of it works as well as it could.
All right.
There is like a definite nostalgia factor to this movie too. Like I can never there are like definitely serious criticisms that I've levied against this movie, but also like this shit was my like I used to watch this movie all the time as a kid. So at the end of the day, like I can overlook so much of this movie because it's just like the high parts still sing as high as I remember them whenever I was a kid.
So our guy, Roger Ebert, gave this movie 1.5 stars.
Woof.
He says, whoever thought this was a family movie must think kids are made of stern stuff. This is a gloomy special effects extravaganza filled with grotesque images generating fear and despair.
Wow.
Raj.
Damn. Wow. I get that though, because you're on a hangover from some of the best bigger budget, like family high concept movies of all time, especially if you're factoring in like Jurassic Park, or even something like Back to the Future, because this movie is borrowing a lot from both of those movies and it's very clearly not close to as good as either of them. So like, what do you does
itself a disservice?
Yeah. So what do you
harkening back to that?
Like, I don't think it's a 1.5 star movie, but there's if you're in that moment in 1995, you're like, yeah, no, I've seen versions of this that worked a lot better.
Exactly. You know what I mean? That's the thing, is like the recency of like just having seen Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Like just 2 years earlier, it's like, man, this is not hitting those same beats that did. This is how Raj ends his review though. He says, the underlying structure of the film seems inspired by or limited by interactive video games. Interesting. He kind of like predicted the sequel. There is little attempt to construct a coherent story. Instead, the characters face one threat after another as new and grotesque dangers jump at them. It's like those video games where you achieve one level after another by killing and not getting killed. The ultimate level for young viewers will be being able to sit all the way through the movie. He really thought that like kids were going to have a hard time.
Kids will watch fucking anything.
That's a bad, like, that's missing the point. So much of the like darkness in heavy air quotes that is in this movie is like darkness for adults, the darkness that like kids don't pick up on.
If
like,
I had seen this at a younger,
those monkeys were pretty grotesque.
Because I don't have any nostalgia associated with this movie. I know if I had seen this as like a young child, I wouldn't really like the first half of it, because like I liked movies that like were willing to get serious and just like tell straightforward stories. And this movie doesn't do a great job of that. What it does a great job of is letting chaos ensue.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot later.
It's fun. It's entertaining.
Yeah. So it's lopsided, I would call it. But that's a lot better. Like the place it gets to is a lot better than where most kids movies get.
And I didn't necessarily need a coherent story from this movie.
Yeah,
like, I didn't
it's like I
feeling
said,
like I didn't get what I wanted.
It's like I said, the movie isn't interested in that. Like it's not trying to give you a ton of character stuff in the middle of it. It's trying to just do like beginning and then a tiny little sprinkle in the middle while everything's going down, and then at the very end.
Like I was fully satisfied just getting like wacky, crazy jungle shit in the house.
Exactly.
It's weird because it ends up in this middle ground, right? Where there like is plot, but not enough to make it fully coherent, but like more than you would really want from a kid's movie. It does kind of end up in like a weird middle ground.
It's the difference between plot and story.
Yeah.
Tons happen, but they're not necessarily all a part of one machine.
Right.
And that's fine.
That is fine.
I had a lot of fun watching this as an adult. And a lot of kids' movies do not work in that way when you're an adult. Yeah. Like, for example, to be honest, like Hook is like a better made film. I would watch this over Hook 1 million times out of a million.
Facts.
Like it becomes genuine entertainment in a way that Hook never, ever does.
Right. All right. Let's get to the categories. So the first category is what is the best Robinism? So Brett, this is like a moment with Robin Williams that best exemplifies what you want out of him in one of his movies. What comes to mind off the top?
So again, because the role is so understated and it's not that goofy, it feels more dramatic. Definitely it's when he gets arrested, he's in the back of the cop car and he's revealing to Carl that he's Alan. And specifically, you see him in the rearview mirror and he channels the 12-year-old and he does it like perfectly.
He apologizes.
Like, wow.
He's like, sorry. Yeah.
That's such a
sorry,
good pick.
soul man.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Perfect pick.
Great pick.
What about you guys?
Mine is kind of basic, but it's just Robin's arrival. Robin just screaming, running around the house. Yeah, it has that child energy, but like there's a whimsy to it.
I think I gotta go with that too.
That's the first thing I think of when I think of Robin in the movie is him trying to chase down the kids to hug them, but they're terrified.
Yeah.
But and like if it were certain actors, you'd be like, Jesus Christ. But he has that thing where he can just like do things like that.
It's the shot, literally the shot of him running around screaming with the chaser of him like realizing that it's been 26 years and his parents are dead, and like the acting that happens in that moment.
Yeah.
That is
just incredible moment.
Yeah. That is perfect.
It. But Brett, that's like such a good.
Yeah. That's really good.
I wouldn't have thought about that. Yeah. Great pick.
What is the best moment in the whole movie? So it doesn't have to be related to Robin.
So there's this moment after he gets arrested where he looks in the rearview mirror.
Okay, so in a similar vein, I was trying to understand, like watching this now is trying to understand why did this resonate with me as a kid? Why did the things stick in my head that stuck in my head? And looking for other things now as an adult that might resonate with me differently, which definitely happened. So right when the hunter enters the game, Van Pelt, the text of every turn, there's text, right, associated with each of the things that are happening. And they kind of come back to those things a lot. Like with the mosquitoes later on, people start to get bit by the mosquitoes, right? But right in that moment when the hunter comes, it says he's meant to make you feel like a child. And Robin is like shuddering. And I think that's the point of the movie, which you guys said it right at the beginning of the pod, of this pod, is that this is like a psychological analysis
Yeah.
of Robin's character. And I think that's the transition moment, because it's his fucking dad. Like, this movie becomes a whole different movie at that point if you're ignoring like all the action shit.
You're right. And also speaking like almost against the critiques that like I levied earlier, and also Raj did, an example of a movie that does that but way too overtly is fucking Hook.
Yes.
Where like that entire movie, all like
while watching this,
half the lines in Hook are just him legit being like, man, I should be a better father.
Yeah.
Like it's him verbally exploring like
I'm just like my
the
old
psychological
man.
journey he's going through as we're watching it.
Yeah.
And that fucking sucks. So this is a better route to take.
right, because it doesn't drag the fun of it.
Yeah.
I think Hook like actively pumps the brakes to be like, let's do a daddy.
Let's
issues
stop.
movie.
Yeah, let's stop having
let's
fun.
let's pump the magic out of Neverland and let's make this grounded and realistic.
Yeah. Hey, turns out Hook is a better father than Peter Pan.
Yeah, Hook is actually, dude.
I want
Dustin
Hook
Hoffman,
to be my dad.
Hook is daddy.
Peter Pan, you're no longer my dad.
I love that pick, Brett. I would just say that is an incredible moment, and I think that Van Pelt is like my favorite, just like thing in this movie.
And
like,
it's a
we're just
genuine
gonna
like
distill-
payoff. It's like the biggest like payoff that we get in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, Van Pelt's involved in it, but I said it earlier. Just my favorite scene in the movie is that department store scene. It's Robin, it's Van Pelt,
That whole
like
sequence
doing his goofy thing. That's like peak kids movie shit. Like, it's funny. Like, I haven't seen this movie in so long, but like I remembered that scene like permanently burned in my brain. Certain like beats, like, you know, slipping on the goo and the paint falling over on him. It's
the hand coming out from under.
It's so classic that like I love that shit. And I love how the setup of Van Pelt leads up to that moment as this kind of immortal NPC like creature.
Indestructible. Yeah, boss. He's a boss. He's like the Margit of Jumanji.
For sure. He's the fell omen.
The Margit of Jumanji.
Yeah. I think my pick has to be the monsoon. Like, everything about how they designed that set with the vines and everything growing, and then the water, they really like flooded that set.
The crocodilo.
Yes. They were just trying to
Looks
hang.
good.
Crocodile.
They
double
weren't
cheeked
trying to
up
do
at
anything.
crocodile.
They weren't trying to eat anybody. They didn't do anything wrong. And here come these humans just being like, oh, the crocodile's going to eat me. Like, no, I'm just trying to hang out. I'm just trying to say what's up.
In that sequence,
open my mouth, just hanging out.
The thing I really hated about that sequence was when Carl and the aunt are like floating away on pieces of wood.
That was rough.
They open up.
That was tough.
So there's a lot of water there, but like based on the shot of them opening up the doors, it's like they just like had like half of the Pacific Ocean just inside of this house.
Yeah. Okay. Next category is fellas. WYD.
Yeah.
What would you do?
And we have to let Brett start this one.
Okay, so I wrote down a couple ways to come at this. So I wrote down this question before I knew that this was a category.
Well, so who are you?
You got to pick a character. So is each thing you wrote a different character?
I'm okay. No,
or are you just Brett,
in,
but in here?
So what's most important to me about this is coming back to the rules and the fact that this is a real board game. And that a game, it doesn't matter what the rules are as long as it has rules that can be followed, right? And the movie does do this. So there's two ways to come at this. In this theoretical situation that I've come across Jumanji, either it's serious where I'm like a character in the movie where I'm fighting for my life. How would I play the game? And then the other one is for fun. I've come across this game and I could willingly jump into it. So if I'm in the movie and I'm playing this game, it's us four playing. I'm saying, guys, look, we're gonna roll the dice as fast as we can, and you could be through this game in like 10 seconds.
Power run, speed run.
Yeah,
because that's the move. Because there isn't a rule that you have to vanquish whatever comes after you, right?
No, I mean they, for the most part, those creatures are just like out and about.
Yeah,
they're just
the
doing
rule
their
is
thing
simply that they come after you.
Yeah, you just have to be willing to be like, I'm not gonna pay attention to the 4-foot mosquito that is like buzzing around my head. I'm just going to need to zero into my next move. Oh, there's a lion now. Just No, out of sight,
right.
out of mind.
Also, they're just like they're very like set and determined that like we gotta like sit down here. We gotta like make a little like sit down like crisscross applesauce around this table while we take our turn.
Yeah.
Like if we're being chased by something, there's no rule against just like having the board out and just like throw in while you're going.
Right.
Like just keep going.
I'm getting in a hot air balloon.
No, mosquitoes can find you up there. They'll still come after you. Nowhere to run
it's like
there.
jungle tornado, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like I could there's holes in that strategy of similar to when he tries to cheat and he turns into a monkey. So there's like we don't know what might happen if we try to roll the dice too quick. They'll be like, now you're a snake.
Yeah.
You know?
Regardless, they could have gone faster than they went.
Yes.
Like that's
Exactly.
definitely
They're
true.
really drawing it out.
I mean, the fact that the Pelican steals the game, I really had to suspend disbelief in that moment.
What,
Fellas,
what are you
you're a
talking,
pelican.
Brett? What's your issue there? Can you explain that? Like, what your problem is with Pelicans stealing game and then treats game like baby, and then decides to trade game, but only once Robin Williams just first try just bare hands a fish out of the river, and then they're like, "All right, trade." We'll switch now. A little exchange. Do you think that's how he survived in the wilderness? Like he had to like do like work on a barter system with the other animals?
Oh my God. So you guys, you think you might do a similar thing in that situation?
Yeah.
If you're just
100%.
transplanted.
I'm playing fast. But the thing is, there are certain pitfalls. Like if I'm a kid and this happens to me, like you're simply going to the jungle and you're not getting out.
It just becomes how do you survive?
There's
in the
no
jungle?
way to not be in the jungle for 26 years if you're Robin Williams.
So
Like,
you're strategizing about.
I'm just waiting for
needing to
Kirsten Dunst to
survive.
get born. That's my whole strat. Just like you're fucked.
God.
So what is it that actually gets him sucked into the game in the first place?
He just rolls and he lands on a spot where it says you lose
You're
your
sucked into the game.
just like you lose your turn until 5 or 8 are rolled or something more poetic than that.
So-
But- so what happens? Because I did have this question. Because like Robin Williams, young Robin Williams, Alan, like pulls out one piece and it just immediately goes on the board. What happens if he rolls the dice then? Will the game not actually start until a second player enters the field?
I like
Or
this
like
Playing
discussion.
alone?
Yeah, like can he play alone?
What do you think, Brett?
No, I like this discussion. I'm getting bricked the fuck up right now.
I think-
This is
I
great.
Like what happens if he plays alone and then he gets sucked into the game? Is he just dead forever? Because nobody like
No, I think this is, you know how like on the box it says like minimum two players?
2 to 6.
Yeah.
Like if he rolls the dice, it'll be like when you go out of turn, nothing will happen.
That's the assumption I would make, is that it's like 2 to 4 players, and that's that.
Yeah,
Like if there was a rule book, like I wonder if somebody's written like a Jumanji rule book as it applies to the movie.
you should look it up.
You should write it.
I should just do it.
This is what I think. This is what I think happens.
You know, it is 26 years from 1995, guys.
No, this is what happens. If
27. I can't do math. I can't.
if somebody
Hey, we're still 26. man.
Yeah.
if somebody is trying to play the game by themselves, the game ejects a player from the jungle to be sucked out of the
it's
jungle.
an NPC. It's
No,
literally you're playing against a bot.
I guess that would be an AI player, but there are real people presumably in the game that they can pull out. Are there other stuck people in the jungle that can come out and play?
No, because then they would have a piece on the board.
That's right. Yeah, they would have a piece there from the last game. My whole question, so what if they played the game and a 5 and 8 never got rolled? Then Robin Williams is stuck there. But the game does the game end?
I think, oh my God. Well, the timeline
never end.
The timeline resets. So I think he's fine.
Oh, you think he just like comes back, but it's
no, he's stuck in there because
he is stuck in there then.
So then that's how all the people that are stuck in there because an entire round is played with nobody rolling a 5 or 8. So each time somebody just stays.
Look, I played plenty of Catan games where you're like, where are the 5 and the 8s in this game?
No, in the same way that the elephants go back into the game, he would come back out because everything resets.
So the way we've been doing this category in episodes past is we try to hone in on a character in the story that would be some kind of audience surrogate, right? So if I'm Kirsten Dunst, and a raggedy man comes out of the board game that I'm playing, I run away
What you
immediately.
Hey, they tried.
Right.
And I
he's gonna catch you.
Call the police.
Yeah, it's set up that Alan is prepared to get really violent.
Yeah.
Try to run away because of what he does to Sarah, and he has the sword and he like sticks it in the ground. He's like, if you run, I'm gonna slice your legs off.
Yeah. And these kids they're so like out of it because of their dead parents that they're just like, fine, whatever.
I need something to happen.
Yeah, this is better than my fucking aunt.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that like why is Robin Williams so persistent? If it's me, like, and I come back to reality
after 26
years, I'd be like, oh, what? There's some killer mosquitoes and a lion. Like, good, I'm back. Like, I'm not playing the risk of playing anymore. Like, I'm just gonna I'm gonna live my life as a cave person, like just Back to the Future here, and just go about my day.
That's what he said he was gonna do.
Yeah, it starts to unravel like what the repercussions of the game would be if you chose to do that. If you're just like perpetually like waiting for the next turn for the rest of your life. Like, let's say like these people, like they only roll like once a year for the rest of their lives.
Tag.
Let's do Jumanji, but tag.
But at this point, because before in the 60s, all that was left was the bats. But at this point, the mosquitoes is basically COVID for this town.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's like malaria COVID. Like everyone is dying. Zika. Who's getting fucking bit by
it's bigger news on the radio than the Stampede is.
Yeah. No.
The Stampede is not mentioned.
Yeah. They're like, oh, it's just another Stampede.
Meanwhile, 87 people have a rash. Yeah. Ooh. It's like,
backs up.
I did want to mention, I know this goes against like your rules for the category, but if I was playing this game, fuck the rules. I can't believe I just said that. So if I was playing this game,
what the hell?
Like for fun, like let's say again, the four of us came across this game and we know that it's legit Jumanji. It becomes the greatest game of all time. Right.
Yeah.
So you want to set up everything. So you like set up the house to make it work for you. You get weapons.
Oh my God.
Armor.
Yes.
You get everything you need. And then you can like fully role play if you want. And it becomes like the greatest game of all time.
And this is changed the course of human history, depending on like our direct actions.
Right. We reset, sell our Apple stock, and we're fucking good.
Yeah.
As a dungeon master myself, this is kind of like the settings that I like to invoke whenever I'm DMing a game here. Like, I want you to come prepared in armor and with swords and ready to vanquish whatever creatures I summon.
That one game that you DM'd was really great.
Yeah, it was unhinged.
Can I take my coins to the local gun shop?
Yeah, and they'll lock the door behind you.
I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention here is like if I was Sarah and like my friend got sucked into the game, like I would probably try a little bit harder. Like maybe try a little bit harder.
I definitely like would not.
If I got sucked into the game, would you just be like, well,
maybe like bring somebody
to
the house
into a board game
and like show them the game,
and they're like, okay, cool game. Like there's nothing to be done. She tried.
There must be
just
like
roll a dice one time in front of someone.
Exactly. Just like get somebody to like play the game.
I would think that I was dreaming. Like I would not accept it as reality.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Try a little harder.
No.
Well, she does it. She does believe it because she's like been spending, she says like 5,000 hours in therapy, which in 26 years isn't that much therapy. Like, come on, an hour a session. Like that's
every other week.
Yeah. That's,
okay. Next category, good Robin or bad Robin?
It's great good Robin. It's just not crazy Robin.
Right.
Which is funny because you would assume that it would be,
I think we've seen much worse Robin and we've seen much better Robin. So this is okay Robin.
I think that this is great Robin. I think that he is great in this movie. I think that he's not all over he's not as manic as Robin can be. And the movie has its faults, but like I think that he is excellent in this.
Yeah, he's doing what the role asks because
he is like the core of the movie.
He can't come back from the jungle and then start making like a Jack Nicholson impression, you know.
That is, yeah, there's no, wait, is this the first, like,
do like a John Wayne
this
impression.
is the first, like, non-serious Robin Williams movie where he's not just, like, going with quips and references.
Yeah, I think that's why I immediately jumped to it being okay, but it's not that, it's good.
You wanted him to do like a Johnny Carson bit, like coming back from the jungle or something.
I think he works better in this than he does in Toys, because in Toys he's making those references and
they don't fit.
That world is even crazier than this world. Like there's no such thing as pop culture in the Toys world.
What do you think, Brett? Good or
I'm
bad,
on the
Robin?
same. I'm on the same page. It's good, and it's nothing that's like blowing you out of the water. It really comes back to it being more visual, just the way he looks. I think I read when I was doing some research into it that when he originally got the script, they were worried he was going to improvise a lot.
Yeah, that's in the Wikipedia.
But he agreed that it wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, Joe Johnston was actually really worried that he was going to derail the production by trying to ad-lib all the time.
I guess if you're on sort of a tight schedule and a tighter budget, then that becomes an issue.
I mean, it's an intricate movie. Like there's a lot of moving parts. You can't be riffing all the time, you know. It has to serve a certain...
We could have still had, like, they could have reserved a day, for example, when he's okay, this is the day where we're in the car with David Alan Grier and we're going to let him play a little bit. You know what I mean? Because if you fully remove his ability to,
or you fabricate some type of Jumanji jungle scenario that he has to like play his that suits his very specific qualities.
You give him like a Who's Line game.
I don't know. Like there's a crazy baboon that like needs to be like swayed.
Oh no. The only way to trick this lion is to make it think that then like pulls a name out of a hat. Cloris Leachman.
Marilyn Monroe.
That would work.
Yeah. Okay. How many Robins out of 10? I think this is a solid 8. You know, maybe like a 7.5.
This is like on a craziness scale.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This isn't how good he is. This is
intensity of
the
Robins, the RPMs, the Robins per minute.
Oh man. I was thinking more like a 6.
I'm leaning closer to that. To
7.
Be honest.
Yeah. Like
he's really shockingly toned down, and it's literally just because his character is written to be like that. His character is not the craziest person in this movie at all.
The feels are good though. They're effective.
He's very clearly in a box. Like he feels like he's in this box in this movie, and he's not going crazy with it at all.
Yeah. He's very focused on his goal in this movie.
In my Robin scale, I also factor in like the emotion, like the gravitas that he's able to bring into. It's not just about like being manic. It's also about being this very like sincere, touching, kind of emotional figure in the story. That's part of like what I bring into it too. And I think that he has to be that sort of emotional core to the story. Mm-hmm. I think he does that really well.
I think the better part of the movie just doesn't involve that. No,
it's not going above and beyond.
I know he does it effectively. It's just like most of his character's emotional journey is when he's a little kid. Yeah, at the beginning and the end. So it's tough. It's tough for Robin brings what he can. It's just not written for him to bring everything.
What do you think, Hunter?
I think you guys are right. Like, I think that it kind of rides a weird line, and especially because we're watching these Robin movies in order. So this is like kind of this line where Robin still has like that comedic sensibility. And like, we're also like, this is the run of Robin that we're getting into, but we're also getting into Robin as like a family star is really started with Aladdin, and now is like really kicking off that now we're moving into the Flubbers and everything else like that he's kind of learns how to like recalibrate his comedy in a really interesting way. So you see a little bit of that. We have the crazy Robin. Like this isn't fucking Awakenings, where it's like he's just like benzoed out for fucking the 100-minute runtime.
Man, that was just nothing.
Yeah, Awakenings.
That movie was nothing. That movie didn't happen.
I don't remember a single fucking thing from that movie, except for like how much Robin
listen
Williams
to the episode, guys.
Listen to the episode. Don't watch the movie.
We had a great time watching it.
We also took the same benzos that Robin was on in 1980. Whenever.
It's a good point of comparison though, just to see what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
All right, last category, recaging couch. Where is Nicolas Cage?
This
in
is
movie?
the easiest answer.
It's too easy.
It's Van Pelt.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Nicolas Cage is
on.
just going around and he's just like, Alan, get back here, Alan.
And he's the dad as well.
Yeah,
also the
yeah,
dad.
he's his dad. I don't care about age difference or anything. I just want Nicolas Cage just in here, just chasing him down. Nicolas Cage in the department store slipping. Oh.
That's so
It'd be
perfect.
so. It's just
one
too
of
good. To
one
be
of
true.
the unintentional funniest moments in the movie is when at the very end when he gets back and he hugs his dad and his dad instantly is like, I'm different now, I love you. And then but then his dad's like on the way out and he's like, Dad, by the way, I put that sneaker in the thing. And his dad gives him a look like, man, I want to beat your fucking ass so bad right now, but I just
No, I got it.
son.
I got it more like my thoughts on that look was more like, I'm glad you said that because Carl was gonna fucking like get
We were
some
gonna-
shit. Yeah.
We're gonna lynch.
No.
It's 19 guys. We can't get over past. It's 1969. Things are not looking great in the country
I know,
in the year
dude.
1969.
Like when I
for
see
our
this
guy
kid,
Carl.
when I see this kid look back at the chaos that he just caused, and he just walks away
Boy,
like it's nothing.
Yeah, I
poor
was like,
David Allen
fuck.
Greer is
I was
just
like,
fuck Alan.
You're a criminal, Alan. You just sentenced a man to his doom. What the fuck? He did nothing wrong.
So yeah, Nick Cage is Van Pelt for sure. Who are we recasting as Robin though?
So I thought of this.
Did you see the Wikipedia?
No, there's a big list. I'm mad because one of my answers, it's one of the last ones. It's one of the ones that has like no creditation behind it. So I think somebody just had the same thought as
All
I
right,
did.
what's your pick?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
1995 Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie. I think we could go more slapstick with it too, which I think also makes the movie a little bit better if we take down a little bit of that plotty emotionality that we're trying to do and we just let Schwartzy just cook right here, just coming straight off of True Lies.
Yeah.
I think that fucking rocks. I'm here for that.
it makes sense if Alan comes back like built.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
He just comes back just like
Off the set
"Ah."
of Predator. The first choice was Tom Hanks, which is like Tom
Makes
Hanks was the first choice for every
Yeah, Tom
movie
Hanks
in
is the
90s.
cheat code
Yeah,
because
it's
he would be awesome.
also
Yeah.
he does the wilderness survival big beard thing. Was it
Castaway.
5 years later with
2000.
Castaway?
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
He
Knowing
also
that.
has already done I'm a kid in an adult's body, but
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
at this point in history,
It's kind of
he did big
Dude.
like 10 years
Yeah,
before. this.
1988.
Big makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
that
Oh
movie.
yeah, no. Talk about what's weirder. Jesus Christ, the politics in that movie are rough. But
There is
you
a
know, some
massive
fun stuff.
list on this Wikipedia. So Tom Hanks turned down the role because he was making Apollo 13. And this is the Rolodex that they went through before Robin got the part. Dan Aykroyd, Bruce Willis, Michael
Mhm.
Keaton,
Hold on.
Kevin Kline.
Hold on.
yeah. So
Kevin Kline, absolutely not.
yeah, Dan Aykroyd. I don't see it. Bruce Willis. I actually could see Bruce.
Bruce
in
would be good.
1995. Bruce Willis.
Does he grow out his hair though in the jungle?
literally cannot.
He
Yeah,
is
he just goes full
incapable
bald.
of that. So
He has alopecia.
Oh shit.
Oh fuck, Ernie.
get
Don't say
Bruce's
anything.
Willis name out your motherfucking mouth.
It's
Um,
aphasia.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what.
I'm so
not
confused right now.
I thought
Um,
Chris Rock made a Bruce Willis joke.
Yeah. So now we're Michael Keaton, which I don't know. I love Michael Keaton, and
he was
I don't
already
really,
Batman at this point.
I don't really picture Michael Keaton in this role. That's kind of weird to me.
Back then, he was known for being a manic comedian, though, so it makes sense that you would put him in any Robin role.
I mean, the rest of this list is insane. Chevy Chase, Sean Penn, Kevin Costner, Richard Dreyfuss, Michael Douglas, Rupert Everett, Harrison Ford, Sean Connery, Bill Paxton.
This is just a list of like
It's-
everyone.
yeah,
who
it's
Yeah. It's a literal Rolodex of like, yeah, they just send
but
scripts
they,
to people.
Sean
they
Con- like,
considered all of them.
Sean
apparently.
Connery is like what? Yeah, like I
But
was
did
really
those actors
considering.
consider
Yeah,
this movie?
exactly.
You want to know my pick? So
Hmm.
so bear with the age thing doesn't quite line up, but I went Brandon Fraser.
Ooh, that is
I like
George
that.
of the Jungle.
I really, yeah.
George of the Jungle which is what came to mind, is like a couple years later. So it would have been like a way hotter version of the character, but I think he could have pulled it off in a way that would still make it a kid's movie. Because George of the Jungle is like kind of an innocent movie in a way.
Yeah.
I think it would work.
That's
I love that pick.
I love that too.
What about someone who's in the latest versions? Jack Black, Flea D.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
I like that pick too.
Tenacious D himself. What about Kyle Gass?
Yep. Keep going.
It's interesting because like you want to find somebody who fits that family angle, right? Like you don't want to pick someone too out of the box of that. I don't know. I feel like
other than Hanks and Robin Williams, to get that balance right, I can't really visualize it.
Like a lot of these names I just don't think are real names. I don't know if there's any validity to anything aside from like I would really like to make a movie with Bill Paxton in 1995.
It's interesting because like the biggest movie of 1995 well, actually, the biggest movie in 1995 was Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is crazy, Bruce Willis. But also, that was the year that Toy Story came out. So we were in a time when, like, this was like the dawn of, you know, a different kind of family kids movie that was so different from Jumanji.
Speaking of, by the way, Tim Allen would be
pitch.
awesome. And I'm not joking.
Wait,
Tim Allen
he
would have slayed this.
Yeah,
Tim Allen was very funny in the 90s.
Here's new pitch, guys. Let's take all the humor of Jumanji and let's take it out, and let's put in the star, the best actor and director that we had in 1995. Mel Gibson writes and directs Jumanji.
Yeah,
and stars.
That's the pick.
Yep.
That's it.
I don't think he would respond well to the
instead
the
of
fan theory that Brett brought up.
Instead of doing Braveheart, he just is like, instead I'm going to write my passion project, Jumanji.
Yeah. Woof. No, I think like a lot of the movies we've been talking about lately, I think this is kind of a perfect Robin Williams movie, you know, even though it's not like quite a seamless overlap of everything sort of coalescing together. I think that he brings just the right amount of, you know, secret sweet sauce to the project. And if it was anybody else, I think it would tip a little bit, maybe too much into action or a little bit too much into melodrama. He kind of finds like a good balance as he does in a lot of these projects.
One other name to throw out there, and this name has come up a lot with like every Robin Williams movie, but Jim Carrey.
Oh,
just the physicality, anything like that. Like, I mean, he's the other 90s super hyper physical comedic actor.
He can grow a great beard too.
He can grow a great beard.
All right. Any final thoughts, Brett, on Robin, Jumanji, anything at all before we wrap up?
Elden Ring.
I think we hit all the beats other than Elden Ring. But yeah, this movie, it really did resonate with me as a kid. And I like I was saying, I really watched this trying to figure out why. And I think it's just the balance of everything. And I'm the opposite of Drew, where the thing that stuck with me was the first half of the movie for some reason. Just all that setup is really what stuck with me, because like the scene in the Sir Saves a Lot, I like take it or leave it when I was a kid. It was all just like the goofy Home Alone shit I was used to. Like what really stuck with me was the kid getting the bloody lip, like trying to think of what it might have been like to get beat up like that, because I never did.
So it was more like that was more of the thing that you were seeing for the first time, right? Like that was something you had less experience watching, is what you're saying?
The back half?
Like no, the first half. Like you hadn't seen something that like goes for emotion like that. Yeah, or at least as effectively for you.
Yeah, that hit. I mean, it's like emotion, but also just it was kind of like these situations. I'm like, damn, like I don't want to be in that situation, or like, what would I do if I was in that situation? Like the image of him getting sucked in the board game will never leave my brain. That will forever be in my subconscious.
Yeah, it's cool as hell. If I had seen this as a kid, like I say that I wouldn't like the first half. I would like it less.
Right.
But this movie would slap it when I was a kid. Like as a whole.
As it should. All right. Any final thoughts, boys? Should we wrap it up?
This movie rocks. Also, incredible VHS cover, like kind of iconic with listeners can't see, but like the Robin Williams, his head above the title. Robin Williams is the king of. I'm not gonna have my name above the title. I'm gonna have my face above the title. I like see that's the first thing that I think of with Jumanji is actually like the VHS and the DVD cover, because this is just, it was a staple of my house.
All right.
Love it.
Well, that about does it. Thank you so much for tuning in to We Bought a Mic. Thank you so much, Brett, for coming back on the show. We hope that you don't get stuck inside of Jumanji for the next 26 years. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything you got going on? Any yo-yo tricks? Any new kendama moves you want to plug? Anything like that?
No, dude. I mean, hey, yo-yo is really hot on TikTok right now. It's kind of having a freaking movement on TikTok right now.
Oh yeah.
So if
you gotta blow up.
The Zoomers are yoing.
I might fucking blow up, dude. But hey, you guys are awesome. It was really good to see you guys.
I know.
We'll have you on again
soon. Love you, miss you.
Love you, man. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, follow, like. All those links are in the description below. If you want to support the show, you can donate. Visit our website, weboughtamic.net. And stay tuned for more Robin with the Birdcage and Jack. So not sure if those two are part of the big 90s run.
Well, Birdcage absolutely is.
Okay.
Birdcage is fucking iconic. Jack is iconic too.
For some other reasons.
For other ways.
And beyond that, Hunter and I have seen one of the best movies that has come out in a very long time. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. We're definitely going to talk about that when it comes out. Also, Ambulance.
Yeah. People aren't talking about Ambulance.
My birthday is this week. We're seeing that movie.
Can we?
Birthday.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
I'll buy your ticket.
And TV Severance is going to be wrapping up. We got to talk about that.
Big fan of Severance.
Have you been watching that, Brett? You should watch that. You would like that.
What's it called?
On
Severance?
Apple TV Plus.
It's the better version of Devs. I think that it's kind of where Devs petered out. I think Severance is kind of fulfilling.
The Adam Scott. I did like Devs though, honestly.
I love Devs. But
Devs is great.
Severance is fucking awesome, and I'm not sure it's going to fully be able to stick the landing that it's set up for itself, but it's one of the best shows on TV. It's one of the most original and creative shows I've seen in a very long time. Yeah. It's an original script that was literally, you know what's so funny? We talked about it very briefly a few weeks ago, you and me, Ernie. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's this really young guy you made. He probably just, went to fucking NYU. This is the one case in history where literally this guy just went to some random college and this script just ended up on the right desks. And every single person who read it was like, I have to make this.
Oh yeah. Like
it was the one. A perfect pilot script. So it's so good.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the new season of Atlanta too, which is back. So stick around for all that. And thank you all for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.